Chapter 781. General, are we going to be cannon fodder? Ding Wenba asked at the side. Feng Yun's expression was gloomy. If I wait until I become stronger, the first one I will destroy will be Tianliang's sect. Go and arrange for the siege. Feng Yun said gravely. Right at this moment, Feng Yun heard a cry of surprise coming from outside and immediately walked out of the tent. Wushu Empire's gate could be seen opening once again. This time, someone came out. 2 rows of white-armored warriors walked out of the city gate in an orderly manner, forming a long line. Suddenly, a golden carpet was laid out from the city, and it just so happened to be in the middle of the white-armored warriors, giving off the feeling of a nouveau riche. 300,000 people are just quietly watching. What is the meaning of this? The 2 rows of white-armored warriors suddenly stopped their footsteps and stood facing each other. They instantly raised the flag of Wushu Empire and crossed it together. And in the city, 3 figures appeared. Yihua stepped on the golden carpet, and the Blood Race sisters followed behind him. The 3 slowly walked out. Everyone took in a breath of cold air. This emperor sure knows how to act cool. And there are 300,000 spectators watching him act cool. Right now, Yihua was feeling very good. Although there wasn't any big scene, this kind of low-profile acting cool still felt very good. After walking to the end of the golden carpet, Yihua stopped his footsteps. At this moment, the sunlight in the sky suddenly shifted and actually shone on Yihua's body, causing the emperor's gown to shine brightly, looking very dazzling. This added a different kind of acting cool. 300,000 people looked at this emperor, and their minds were all stupefied. This is really the first time, Yihua, who was standing below the flag, said to the 300,000 people, "Heavens! If you all retreat, I will let bygones be bygones, but if you all continue to persist in going about things the wrong way, this snowy land will be the best place for you all to return to. I never lie." Everyone immediately became silent. URF** King bragging, right? We haven't even seen the regular army, and you still dare to say that you are going to destroy us. This emperor not only knows how to act cool, he also knows how to brag. Later on, I will let you see what is called awesome. Yihua turned around and walked into the city with a smile of disdain on the corner of his mouth. Actually, I can choose not to come out, but I like to be benevolent, so I will still give them a way out. As for their choice, it is unknown. Yihua didn't continue going up the city gate and returned to the palace. I will leave this place to the Blood Race sisters, it is more than enough. After all, in this kind of small situation, the Supreme Overlord had already given a lot of face by coming forward to say a few words. When the 300,000 people realized that the emperor did not go up to the tower to observe, they all laughed. The emperor had run away, leaving only the 2 women to watch the show. Even Fang Meiying and Ma Ji felt the same way. There was a light smile on their lips. This city was too easy to come to. It was really effortless to come here. The emperor was probably preparing to escape through the secret passage, leaving behind 2 women to bring up the rear. However, Mu Ran, who was behind him, did not think so. The emperor was definitely not someone who would run away. And those subordinates of the emperor, only 2 women came out. Those 2 women seemed to be standing at the back that day, and those people who were standing at the front didn't even appear. Mu Ran had a bad premonition. Although her teacher had hit her just now, she still couldn't help but to persuade her teacher again, "Teacher," but before Mu Ran could finish, Fang Meiying said coldly, "Mu Ran. Don't think that you can criticize Master's words and actions just because you are the heavenly Dao now." Mu Ran didn't say anything. Meanwhile, on Feng Yun's side, he was already preparing to take action. The exclusive weapon for breaking through the city gate had already been prepared. It was a huge iron rod that was black, big, and thick. This wasn't any ordinary fine iron, it was made from meteorite iron, and such a big piece of iron was definitely worth a lot. From this, it could be seen that Feng Yongzhang was also very meticulous this time, giving all of the good stuff to his son. However, Feng Yun was rather smart. He only sent 50,000 soldiers to take the lead and charge at the city gate, and the black rod that was being carried by the wheels of the carriage followed along as well. Kill! 50,000 soldiers roared out furiously, pulled out their swords, and charged towards Wushu Empire. An austere aura immediately engulfed the entire battlefield. Feng Yun closely observed the situation of the battlefield, and Ding Wenba who was behind him wrinkled his brows and said, "General, the other party doesn't seem to be moving at all." Feng Yun naturally also discovered that there weren't any archers on top of the city wall, and all of the soldiers were standing on the ground, not having any intention to engage in battle at all. Are they planning to surrender? If that's the case, it's too easy for me, and I have completely given everything to Tianliang's sect. All of the benefits belong to them, and I don't even have the chance to get any leftovers, damn it. However, right at this moment, the sky that was originally clear gradually darkened, and snow started falling once again. The density of the snow made everyone puzzled. I have never seen snow falling like this before. Everything in front of me is actually completely blank, just like a snowy sunset. The hands of the blood race sisters that were standing on top of the city wall were emitting out white light. During these few years, everyone in the team had been training hard, especially those that were lagging behind. They didn't dare to slack off at all. Strength is indeed very strong. However, from that battle with Nan Wuqi, they also realized that strength isn't invincible. One still needs to know a bit of magic, and this was also the shortcoming of most people. This move of the blood race sisters was taught by Yu Hua. Although it wasn't as powerful as Yu Hua, it was still enough. This kind of snowy sunset only appeared on the battlefield, and the 50,000 soldiers seemed to have lost their target. They couldn't differentiate between north and south, and didn't know which direction they should charge towards. Seeing this scene, Feng Yun didn't know why, but he felt a bit happy. Seems like the other party still has some strength, and I thought that I would be able to deal with them with just my own people. Fang Meiying and Ma Zhi's originally relaxed expression gradually became grave. This kind of snowstorm is not normal. Mu Ran looked at the spectacle in front of her, and suddenly felt that the emperor didn't lie to her. The blood of 300,000 people splashed onto the snowy ground. This isn't impossible. The falling snow in the sky gradually turned into hail. The smallest was actually the size of a fist, and the biggest was at least the size of an adult. Falling from a height of 10,000 meters, it was extremely terrifying. Furthermore, the density of the hail made it so that there was no way for people to escape, and the 50,000 soldiers immediately let out miserable screams, and those that had shields immediately raised up. However, when those huge hailstones fell onto the shields, they were unable to withstand it, and they immediately fainted. Then, they fell onto the snowy ground and got trampled on by the people beside them, or get hit by the hailstones again. Basically, if the hailstones hit their heads, it would be game over. The miserable screams within the battlefield became softer and softer, and soon, there was nothing left. However, not even a minute passed by. When the snowy sunset dispersed, only the white snowy ground was left, and everyone was buried within the snowy ground. Because there were some places that were still blood red, the remaining 250,000 people were already stupefied. This snowstorm alone buried 50,000 people. This is simply too savage. This is simply inhumane. Chapter 782. That beautiful face was filled with bloodlust, and her eyes were gradually turning red. This was not a cry, but a sign unique to the Blood Clan. Feng Yun stood outside the tent, not feeling sad for the 50,000 dead warriors, and even felt that it was quite good. Now, your Tianliang sect should send troops. You can't let me keep sending people to die. However, just as Feng Yun finished thinking, a disciple came over and asked Feng Yun to go over. Feng Yun, of course, didn't dare to disobey, and went to Wuliang sect's camp. Senior, Junior's warriors are all ordinary people. We can't do anything about this situation. Please make a decision. Feng Yun said respectfully. Fang Meiying was silent. Ma Zhi said indifferently, continue sending troops, I have a way this time. Hearing this, Feng Yun's face changed, but he lowered his head so no one noticed. This person is so ruthless. Let all my people die, and then they will find a way to solve this. Tianliang sect is really ruthless. Today I learned something new. Mu Ran, who was standing behind, was also very surprised. Elder Ma actually wanted to send people to die. Is Tianliang sect so unreasonable? Mu Ran had only been in Tianliang sect for a short 3 years. In these 3 years, Tianliang sect didn't have any wars. In Mu Ran's eyes, Tianliang sect was still very good. But today, he saw clearly that Tianliang sect was also a sect that didn't care about human lives. Mu Ran's heart was filled with disappointment. Go quickly. What are you waiting for? Ma Ji shouted coldly. Feng Yun's forehead was bulging with blue veins. Should he say no? If he said yes, and Feng Yun dared to say it, he would die on the spot. A gentleman's revenge is never too late. I, Feng Yun, will remember this debt. Yes. Feng Yun replied respectfully, and then returned to his camp. Ding Wenba quickly asked, General, what's wrong? Damn Tianliang sect, they're too much. Feng Yun's fist slammed on the table. General, does Tianliang sect still want us to send people? This is too hateful. Then tell me, is there any other way? If I don't obey, we will be the ones to die. Feng Yun rubbed his forehead and said coldly. I swear. I must destroy Tianliang sect. Ding Wenba didn't say anything, and Xia Yu was still standing on the side. A short while later, Feng Yun waved his hand, go make the arrangements. Yes. Ding Wenba accepted the order and went to make arrangements. This was completely sending others to their deaths. As expected, when Ding Wenba announced the order, the remaining 50,000 soldiers began to discuss among themselves. Some even disobeyed. However, the general was a ruthless person, killing decisively, immediately suppressing everyone. Soldiers, Cold Sky sect has an idea this time, it won't be like before. Ding Wenba shouted loudly, as if he was using this method to stabilize the morale of the army. However, Ding Wenba was a civil official after all. This kind of rhetoric had no effect at all, and it even attracted more retorts. In the end, he was suppressed. However, the soldiers had no choice. There was an order from above. Even if it was an abyss in front of them, they had to jump in. But was it really worth it? Even if he had to die in battle, at least there would be an enemy. Look at Voidless Empire, their soldiers are all standing on top of the city walls and didn't come down at all. However, their own people have indeed died. The remaining 50,000 soldiers of the Duchy of Gouda slowly walked out. They no longer had the aura of wanting to kill. Every step they took was very careful. Snow began to fall from the dark sky once again, and the scene was exactly the same as before. This caused the 50,000 soldiers to be terrified to the extreme. In an instant, they began to run in disorder. Hailstones had already formed above the clouds, and as long as the hailstones descend, these 50,000 soldiers would fall once again. Solidify. Ma Ji's hands could be seen immediately forming hand seals, and a yellow light could be seen appearing in the sky. A yellow dot could be seen spreading out in the shape of a fan, enveloping the entire battlefield. The heavy snow immediately stopped. The 50,000 soldiers saw that Cold Sky sect had made their move, and when the hailstones landed on the shield, they were unable to smash into the shield. Gradually, the 50,000 soldiers began to cheer, picked up their blades, and once again rushed towards the city gate. Ma Ji sneered, you dare to be impudent in front of me with such insignificant skills, you are truly courting death. When the hailstones landed on the shield, all of the hailstones shattered. The hailstones were unable to pierce through the shield at all, and the shield protected the 50,000 soldiers below. Just when those 50,000 soldiers were feeling happy, the hailstones in the sky gradually changed. Just like daggers, the hailstones descended from the sky with cold glints. The degree of density of the hailstones caused people to feel numb, especially for people who had trypophobia, they would feel numb. Countless ice blades forcefully stabbed into the shield, but they were unable to pierce into the shield. Ma Ji was in the middle of releasing the ice blades, and he was continuously strengthening the shield, and cold sweat could be seen appearing on his forehead. Right at this moment, an extremely large ice blade appeared in the sky. Compared to the other small ice blades, those are all ants. This is what Big Brother is. The extremely large ice blade that brought along a cold glint pressed straight towards the shield. Even Fang Meiying was dumbfounded for a moment. What kind of spell is this? It is so powerful. The extremely large ice blade pierced through the shield without any difficulty, and Ma Ji couldn't help but spurt out a mouthful of blood, suffering from the backlash. The extremely large ice blade that landed on the ground was like a small mountain, and in an instant, quite a number of people were crushed to death. Without the protection of the shield, those countless small ice blades that landed on the ground were densely packed, and no one was able to escape from this kind of attack. This was the legendary knife of the underworld. In an instant, all 50,000 soldiers fell onto the ground, and warm blood sprayed onto the snowy ground, forming a magnificent picture. Just like what Yihua said, this snowy ground would be dyed with the blood of 300,000 soldiers. Seeing this scene, Feng Yun found it hard to believe. It's over. This is the first time I went out to battle, and my entire army was wiped out. How am I going to explain this to my father when I return? I am completely unable to explain this to my father. Furthermore, if my father emperor were to know about this, he would definitely be angered to death. Because this is a battle that paved the way for me. It is all this damn Tianliang sect's fault. Why don't all of you go and die? Elder Fang, are you all right? Fang Meiying, who was at the side, asked gravely. I'm all right, I was careless. Ma Ji said coldly. Just now, I also made a fool out of myself, and I actually vomited blood. If this were to be spread back to the sect, wouldn't I become a laughingstock? Fang Meiying said faintly, those 100,000 soldiers did not die in vain, I have a way to deal with them. When Mu Ran heard what her master said, her heart skipped a beat. To actually say that those 100,000 soldiers died in vain, I feel that my master has become a stranger in front of me. Following Fang Meiying's command, the 100,000 soldiers of Tianliang sect walked out. This was 100,000 doja. Their strength cannot be underestimated, and they are truly terrifying. And Fang Meiying already has a way to break the enemy's technique. The 100,000 disciples of Tianliang sect shouted out, and all of them started their charging mode, and Fang Meiying had already started his preparations. However, this time, there was no snowstorm. This made Fang Meiying very puzzled, and the 100,000 disciples that were present were all puzzled. Chapter 783. Looking at the situation, Fang Meiying gradually became serious. The other party does not intend to use the same trick again. What are they trying to do? The 100,000 people at the scene looked at the surroundings vigilantly. The snow on the ground moved faster and faster, to the point that it even swept up the corpses that were just killed. The strange scene made everyone's heart turn cold. Seeing this scene, Feng Yun's back turned cold. Just when did Wushu Empire appear? Just what is going to happen? Seeing this scene, Mu Ran became even more certain of the emperor's words. If they don't leave, everyone will die here. Suddenly, Mu Ran thought of something. No wonder the emperor handed me over so easily, because he has the confidence to capture me back and let me see everyone's face. What kind of person was this emperor? Why was his mind so meticulous? Every step seemed to be within his calculations. So terrifying. Elder Fang, this Wushu Empire is a bit strange. Right now, Ma Ji was a bit worried as well. He discovered that things aren't as simple as he thought. Fang Meiying's expression was grave as she turned her head and asked Mu Ran, you have stayed here for a period of time, just how strong is this Wushu Empire? No matter what, Fang Meiying was her teacher. Mu Ran said respectfully, teacher, disciple does not know how strong they are. This Wushu Empire doesn't have any officials, other than the emperor and the 2 empresses. There are still 20+ subordinates, and the 2 people who are standing on the city wall are precisely one of those subordinates. Hearing Mu Ran's words, Fang Meiying and Ma Ji became even more grave. Just a moment ago, they were still laughing at the emperor for running away and leaving behind 2 women. It seems like the emperor didn't even bother to continue watching and left behind 2 women to clean up. Just as the 2 were guessing, a terrifying thing happened at the scene. The snow on the ground quickly moved and formed into 5 snowballs that were 300 meters tall. That was about the same height as the city wall. However, the 5 snowballs actually stretched out their legs, hands, and even their heads. Adding on the legs and heads, the height had already surpassed the city wall, and the 100,000 disciples on the ground were just like ants. What was terrifying was that on the bodies of the 5 snowmen, all of them were people who had just died, and they were all embedded in the bodies of the snowmen. Half of the faces were smashed off, and the snowmen even used 100 human heads as their eyes, causing people to tremble in fear. What kind of monster is this? Ma Ji raised his head and looked at the enormous snowmen and muttered. Fang Meiying didn't know what to say. Her eyes were filled with horror. Mu Ran was also dumbfounded and in disbelief. Beside her, Sun Konghong was very calm. If Yu Hua was here, it would be even more spectacular. At that time, it would not be 5, but 50. However, now that he thought of moonlight, Sun Konghong felt very calm. This made Sun Konghong a little puzzled. When Feng Yun saw this scene, his intestines turned green with regret. Were they paving the way for him, or were they using him to pave the way? This kind of snowman, just one of them would be enough to destroy Gouda Principality, let alone 5 of them right now. Damn it, you immortals are fighting, why do you have to call a mortal like me? Shameless. Shameless. The ones who were most afraid were the 100,000 disciples on the battlefield. They had all forgotten to run, and their faces were filled with despair. No one knew who gave the order to run, but everyone followed. The 5 snowmen didn't do anything else. They just lifted their feet and stomped down. 5 loud sounds rang out across the world, causing the ground to tremble. Even those in Wushu Empire could feel it. It was unknown how many people would die from the stomp of those enormous feet. All of the disciples rolled and crawled as they ran. They didn't have any desire to fight at all. Meanwhile, the 100,000 disciples who were standing and watching the battle felt their bodies go numb. With 5 stomps, at least a few thousand would die, and with a few more stomps, all of them would definitely die. Ma Ji and Fang Meiying took a look at each other, then released all of their duqi and condensed into swords in their hands. Immediately, they attacked towards the snowmen. If the 2 of them didn't make a move now, it would be impossible to save the situation. The 5 snowmen continued to stomp, and the disciples on the ground fled in panic. I don't want to die. Isn't Tianliang sect the strongest sect in Northern Liang? Why is there an existence that is even more powerful than Tianliang sect? Don't step on it. No matter how these disciples ran, they couldn't outrun the stomping of the snowmen. The 5 snowmen were just like stepping on ants, one stomp after another. In just a short while, almost all of the 100,000 disciples died on the spot. Sky Profound Sword Technique. Ma Ji shouted out furiously. His peak stage King Realm strength was unleashed with all his might. His body emitted a faint radiance, and the sword in his hand released a sword light that pressed straight towards the head of the snowman. Hua! The sword light easily penetrated the head of the snowman, but what were snowmen made of? They weren't living things, therefore, this kind of damage could be ignored. The head that was cut open actually gradually closed up, and then, as if nothing had happened, it continued to stomp. How is this possible? Ma Ji, who was holding the sword in his hand, muttered. However, just when Ma Ji was lost in thought, one of the snowmen actually didn't continue to step on the disciples, but instead, sneak attacked Ma Ji. Be careful! Fang Meiying shouted in a delicate voice. When Ma Ji reacted, it was already too late. The snowman's fist fiercely hit Ma Ji's body. Ma Ji's body smashed into the ground like a cannonball, creating a huge pit. The disciples were all stunned. This was Elder Fong, who was at the peak of King Realm. He was actually smashed into the ground by a snowman, and no one knew if he was dead or alive. What kind of strength did these 5 snowmen have? Why were there such monsters in this world? God, please come and take them in. Fong Meiying didn't hold back anymore. She instantly displayed the strength of a first-grade King Realm Do, and a terrifying Do Chi spread out. Illusion Breaker. Heaven Sword Art. The sword in Fong Meiying's hand flew towards the sky and released a dazzling light. A huge sword image appeared in the sky, and it carried along a terrifying destructive power. I will let you all experience what is called death. Fong Meiying shouted in a delicate voice. Her finger immediately pointed towards the city gate, seemingly wanting to use the sword to cut down the city gate of Wushu Empire. The huge sword image descended with a terrifying pressure. When the 5 snowmen saw this situation, they actually chose to stand under the huge sword and raised their hands. Those who didn't know might have thought that they were going to surrender. This move was one of Fong Meiying's ultimate moves, and she wouldn't use it unless she had no other choice. After all, this was a trump card. Bang! The huge sword image landed on the hands of the 5 snowmen and released a terrifying aura. This caused the disciples present to be dumbstruck. Is this the strength of a King Realm Do? This is completely not the same level as a King Realm Do. As expected of Elder Fong, she was able to suppress these 5 monsters by herself. Feng Yun was also dumbstruck. This Cold Sky sect is indeed very powerful, and this woman is also the same. To actually be able to suppress the snowmen, she is truly very powerful. Mu Ran was also very surprised. Teacher is truly very powerful, bang. Chapter 784. The sword images disappeared as well, and Fong Meiying's breathing became a little hurried. Using this ultimate move brought me a very strong feeling of fatigue, but if I don't use it, there is no better way. Right now, the Do Chi in my body is a little chaotic. Seems like attacking Wushu Empire this time was still too rash. I should have sent a few more elders, or a Peak Emperor Realm sect leader, that way, I might still have a chance of winning. But luckily, I managed to get rid of those 5 monsters. Fong Meiying turned her head and looked at Ma Ji, who was in the hole. I don't know if he is dead or alive. I didn't expect those snowmen to be so strong. A Peak Emperor Realm martial artist couldn't even withstand a single punch from them. Serena, who was on the city wall, rubbed her little sister's shoulder. You are driving a car again. Big sister, sorry, I was just thinking about what to eat tonight. Serena said apologetically. So embarrassing. Serena rolled her eyes at her little sister. Do you think I don't know you? Don't you know what you want to eat? Sister, you're so annoying. Don't you like to eat it as well? Serene raised her eyebrows. She had a look that said, aren't you the same? How dare you lecture me? Concentrate, I am doing something. Serena nodded her head seriously. The 2 sisters started casting again. While Fong Meiying, who was in the sky, was thinking, a terrifying Do Chi fluctuation gathered below. Fong Meiying immediately retreated and looked at the pile of snow vigilantly. Everyone felt the terrifying aura that the pile of snow was emitting, and fear appeared in their eyes. Why did I have to come here? Isn't it better to stay in Tianliang sect and train? Why do I have to fight and kill? I hate fighting and killing. If these people had already attacked Wushu Empire, they would definitely not hate fighting and killing, and might even like fighting and killing. The pile of snow that had already collapsed once again fused together. Just now, there were 5 snowmen, but this time, there was only 1 snowman. The height of the snowman didn't change, but its body became more robust. All of the corpses formed every detail of its body: chest muscles, abdominal muscles, shark lines, mermaid lines. The veins on its arms were all formed by corpses. That huge head was even more terrifying. Blood was still dripping down from it. The huge snowman seemed to have a life of its own as it shook its head and swept its gaze across everyone. The snowman could be seen clenching its fists, slightly bowing its body and letting out a terrifying roar. This roar made everyone's hair stand up, and they could even smell the blood that the snowman spat out. Fang Meiying finally revealed a look of panic. If these snow corpses were only Do Wang's. In that case, he was already a Do Huang. His strength was already on par with him, or even slightly stronger. Fang Meiying couldn't care less. She turned around and shouted, "Retreat!" The 10 battle arcs were ready to retreat at any time. Roar! The snow corpse roared angrily and exerted force with its legs. A powerful shockwave burst forth from the ground, and the snow corpse soared high into the air, leaping towards the battleship. The scene left everyone dumbfounded. The snow corpse was like a huge gorilla, using its terrifying jumping ability to draw a beautiful arc in the air. Boom boom boom. The snow corpses landed abruptly, and everyone could feel their feet trembling. The battleships were like pieces of wood, crushed by the snow corpses. The other battleships were then used by the snow corpses to play with. The huge battleship was like a child's toy to the snow corpses. Mu Ran gulped and finally admitted a cruel fact. The emperor was not bragging. What he said was the truth. Today, all 300,000 people are going to die here. Light of world, lock! Fang Meiying shouted, and a rope condensed in her hand and flew towards the snow corpse. The purple rope instantly wrapped around the snow corpse and tied it tightly. It was commonly known as Asian binding. Mu Ran. Bring everyone and retreat. Fang Meiying shouted. She channeled all of her Do Qi into the snow corpse and firmly tied it up. The snow corpse that was tied up seemed to be very angry, its body seemed to have become a lot bigger, and one could even see its muscles expanding. Hearing her master's words, Mu Ran immediately arranged for everyone to retreat. However, how are we going to retreat now? Turn around and run. 100,000 people turned around and ran. Feng Yun didn't have much time to think and immediately rode on his horse and ran. If I don't run now, then when will I run? It's normal for me to stay at home and develop my strength. Why did I have to come out? Isn't it better to hide in the palace and develop my strength? Wouldn't it be better to wait until all the generals are selected before coming out? I am really stupid. However, after running for a few hundred meters, everyone suddenly fell down, seemed to have bumped into something. One of the disciples who fell down touched onto the ground confusedly. Although he couldn't see anything, it was very obvious that he touched onto something. Some people began to beat onto the ground ferociously, but no matter what, it was useless. Despair, a deep despair spread out in everyone's heart. They were trying to exterminate everyone here. Turning around and looking at that enormous snow corpse, Elder Fang is unable to hold on for much longer. That purple rope seems to be about to break. If we don't run out, everyone is going to die. My emperor gave you all a chance to live. It is you all who did not cherish it. Today, the blood of 300,000 people will be sprinkled onto this land. There will be no mercy. Serena's words drifted into everyone's ears. After the remaining 100,000 disciples heard what Serena said, they began to beg bitterly. I am also obeying the emperor's orders. I don't have the intention to go against you. I beg Wushu Empire to spare my lives. Mu Ran, who was within the group, was a bit dazed. She didn't know what to do. The emperor had already said these words to me. Why didn't they listen to me and insist on letting everyone die here? Why? Fang Meiying looked towards the blood sisters on the city wall. It seems like she is planning to capture the leader first, and that snow corpse is about to break free. Roar! Before the snow corpse finished speaking, the snow corpse roared furiously, and the purple rope on its body instantly broke apart, transforming into stars and disappeared. The snow corpse glared angrily at Fang Meiying, who was in midair, and the muscles on its body squirmed. Then, the snow corpse shot out explosively. Its speed was so fast that it made one speechless. And Fang Meiying did the same as well. She slashed towards the blood sisters with her sharp sword. The blood sisters looked at Fang Meiying, who was attacking towards them. They did not take any defensive measures, seemingly intending to let Fang Meiying kill them as she pleased. Fang Meiying was overjoyed in her heart. As long as I kill these 2 women, this snow corpse will disappear. These 2 demonesses, this elder is going to dismember the 2 of you into pieces. Fang Meiying's speed was indeed very fast, but the snow corpse wasn't slow either. Although its body was huge, its arms were extremely long. If not, why would others feel that it looked like a gorilla? Go and die. 10,000 Spirit Magic Sword. Fang Meiying shouted out, and the long sword in her hand emitted out a golden brilliance. The little sister Serena said with a slight smile, "Be careful of your back." Fang Meiying's gaze sank, and a huge palm could be seen stretching over, then grabbing out. A terrifying sword aura erupted from the snow corpse's palm. Chapter 785. Roar. The snow corpse grabbed the spoils of war in its hand and patted its chest with its left hand, as if it was showing off. The remaining 100,000 people saw that their elder had been captured by the snow corpses, with only his head sticking out of the snow corpse's hands. The snow corpses leaped up into the air. Boom! He landed a short distance away from the 100,000 Cold Sky sect disciples. Everyone was frightened silly and did not dare to move. Now that even a Do Huang elder had been captured, what use did they, as Doja, have? The snow corpse slowly stretched out its right hand, and everyone could see Elder Fang's painful expression. The fear in their hearts reached a peak, and some of the timid ones were so scared that they sat on the ground. Master! Mu Ran shouted, and her small body seemed to want to go and save the elder, but Sun Konghong who was at the side pulled her back. Sun Konghong! Let go of me. Although Master just hit me, Master was good to me in the past. How can I watch Master die in front of me? Sun Konghong directly hugged Mu Ran, not letting her do anything. No matter how Mu Ran patted, Sun Konghong didn't let go. The snow corpse gradually tightened its right hand, and everyone could hear the clenching sound coming from the huge palm, as well as Elder Fang's painful cry. Is this terrifying snow corpse trying to pinch a Do Huang to death? Feng Yun who was not far away was already scared. That's a Do Huang. You actually pinched him to death. Right now, Fang Meiying could feel that her body was being squeezed together, and her internal organs were all heavily injured. Puff! As the snow corpse tightened its grip, Fang Meiying spat out a blood mist. Everyone was scared. It really pinched a Do Huang to death. What kind of empire is this? It's even crueler than a sect. The snow corpse loosened its right hand, and Fang Meiying's body fell onto the ground, and she no longer looked like a human. Roar roar roar. The snow corpse beat its chest with both of its fists, let out a berserk roar, and started trampling mercilessly. There wasn't the slightest bit of mercy. Sun Konghong hurriedly carried Mu Ran and dodged. It seemed dangerous, but actually it wasn't dangerous at all. Under this merciless trampling, 100,000 disciples were instantly killed, and only Feng Yun was left in Guda Principality. Ding Wenba and Xia Yu couldn't escape at all, and they were all trampled to death. Enough! Enough! Don't kill any more. Mu Ran cried miserably in Sun Konghong's arms. However, as Mu Ran spoke, the snow corpses actually stopped. Only a few hundred of the 100,000 were left. Everyone looked at the snow corpses that stopped moving, and all of them were very puzzled. The snow corpse could be seen lowering its head and taking a look at everyone, then turning around and walking away. In the process of walking away, the snow corpse's body began to melt, and in the end, it turned into ordinary snow and fell onto the ground. Feng Yun went into a daze for a moment, then stretched out his hand and touched the invisible wall. Upon discovering that he could pass through the invisible wall, Feng Yun did not even think much and immediately broke into a run, and when the remaining disciples saw that Feng Yun was actually able to run out, they immediately didn't think of anything else and hurriedly ran away. However, Mu Ran wasn't in a hurry to run. Instead, she walked to the side of Fang Meiying's corpse and decided to bring her master's corpse back. After taking one last deep look at Voidless Empire, she walked in the direction of Tianliang's sect while Sun Konghong followed behind Mu Ran. When is this protection mission going to end? Your Honor, at least say a deadline, don't go on like this. The vampire sisters on the city wall pursed their lips and disappeared from the top of the city wall, appearing in the palace. The two bowed respectfully and said, "Reporting to your honor, everything is done." Yihua nodded his head, "Spread this news out, it is about time for Northern Liang to know about Voidless Empire." Yes. The two sisters received the order and left. Yihua took a deep breath. This north of Kangluo continent is a bit interesting, it seems to be more interesting than the south. However, Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi seem to not be planning to share this moment of happiness with me. Yihua came to the children's palace, and in the garden, he saw Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi playing with the children. When the two of them saw Yihua, the happy smiles on their faces instantly disappeared. Yihua was also helpless. The speed at which the two of you change your expressions is a bit too fast. "Daddy!" The four little fellows shouted out. Yihua nodded his head, then walked forward and sat beside his wives. However, Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi didn't pay attention to Yihua, not even taking a look at Yihua. Yihua stretched out his hand, seemingly wanting to hold on to Qingye's hand. However, before he even managed to touch Qingye's hand, Qingye had already hidden away. Qingye even stood up and changed to another seat, distancing herself from Yihua. When the children saw this scene, they were also helpless. "Daddy, we are willing to accept the mission, but Mom is very angry, you have to coax her." Towards this situation, Yihua did not get angry. It was also reasonable for them to be angry. Just now, people came from outside the door. Gouda Principality and Tianliang sect, a total of 300,000 people. Yihua said lightly. Seeing that his wives were not speaking, Yihua said faintly, "I have already given them a chance, and Muran had also tried to persuade them, but they still chose death." Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi did not have any reaction to what Yihua said. Yihua thought that they would blame him for being cruel, and didn't expect that they would be so calm. However, in Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi's hearts, how is this considered cruel? Exiling our own children, that is cruel. This wife of mine has been not uttering a single word the entire time, and it is giving me a headache. Yihua feels that it is better for me to put down a bit of face. "Wife, I'm hungry," Yihua said while looking at Qingye. His tone was a bit strange, and seemed to have a hint of acting coquettishly. Even a supreme overlord is able to act coquettishly. Oh my god, goosebumps are starting to appear all over Qingye's body. I remember that last time when Yihua also acted coquettishly, it was simply unbearable. Not only Qingye's entire body, Donghuang Baizhi's entire body was the same. Even the children were the same as well. This was the first time they saw their father like this. He suddenly realized that although his father was strict, he was quite cute at times. Just like now, he was acting spoiled in front of his mother. Yihua gave Donghuang Li a look, and Donghuang Li immediately understood. "Mom, Ali is hungry." Yi Yan could also understand his father's gaze. "Mom, Yan, is also hungry, I want to eat Mom's cooking." It was useless for Yihua to beg bitterly. However, when it came to the children's request, the two mothers would definitely agree to it. Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi walked over to the kitchen and started cooking. After the two mothers left, Donghuang Li said with a smile, "Dad, didn't I say that Mom would definitely be angry? Daddy knows, so Daddy will coax your mommy. Don't worry." Yihua stroked onto Donghuang Li's face. Right now, Donghuang Li is becoming more and more beautiful. Donghuang Li is also enjoying her father's stroking. "Dad, what are we going to do?" God Yi suddenly asked curiously. Chapter 786. After all, Donghuang Li and God Yi were blood-related siblings, and Yi Yan and Yi Lu were the same as well. However, the two of them were unable to play with each other every day. This time, by letting them form a team like this, it would also increase the bond between siblings. It could be seen that when Yihua decided to form a team like this, the children revealed a disappointed expression. Donghuang Li wanted to form a team with Yi Yan. After all, these two little fellows would be able to play with each other, and right now, Dong Guangli knew that she would have to bring along her ice cube little brother God Yi. Yi Yan was the same as well. He wanted to play with his big sister, but his little sister was a cold goddess, and they were not even on the same topic. God Yi had the same thoughts as well. Big sister is too playful, it would be best for little sister Yi Lu to form a team with me, she can study martial techniques and also spar with me. Yi Hua naturally knew what the children were thinking, and thus, he said gravely, the matter of the teams has been decided, no one is allowed to go against it. Since their father had already said so, what else could the four little fellows do? They could only nod their heads and agree. Seeing that the children were obedient, Yi Hua felt happy. He walked towards the palace's kitchen and prepared to have a good talk with his wives. After their father left, the four little fellows sighed and laid on the stone table unhappily. Yi Hua arrived at the palace's kitchen. The equipment here was rather outdated, but it still had a unique flavor. The two empresses were currently cutting vegetables, and when they saw that their husbands had arrived, their expressions immediately turned ugly. Yi Hua let out a breath and said lightly, "Don't be angry, it will only happen once, it won't happen again in the future." After saying that, Yi Hua thought to himself, as long as it happens once, their hearts will be wild, and at that time, they will naturally want to develop even higher. This is all a trick. After hearing that, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji remained silent. Yi Hua walked to Qingye's back and hugged her from behind. Meanwhile, Qingye raised the kitchen knife and shouted out sternly, "Yi Hua, do you believe that I won't chop you in half?" "I don't believe you." Yi Hua tightly hugged onto Qingye's slender waist and said indifferently, "You. What exactly do you want?" Qingye said, "You two can be at ease, I won't let the children get hurt. They are also not going out alone, Ali will bring God Yi, and Yi Yan will bring Yi Lu. After all, they are blood-related siblings, but they have not played with each other for the past few years. Therefore, this time, they will be able to improve their relationship a bit, don't you two think?" Yi Hua used his own theory to persuade the children. Needless to say, it really worked. Both Qingye and Donghuang Baiji felt that they were blood-related siblings, but they weren't that close to each other. After all, their personalities were different. Yi Hua let go of Qingye and placed Donghuang Baiji into his embrace, then said tenderly, "Baiji, am I right?" "What right and wrong?" "In any case, it isn't good for you to take the children away from us," Donghuang Baiji said tenderly. However, from her tone, Yi Hua could tell that she wasn't that angry anymore. Yi Hua stretched out his hand and embraced Qingye into his embrace as well, then said warmly, all right, this is all for my own good. Just promise me this time, all right? In the future, whatever you guys say will be the law, I guarantee that I will not go against it, how about it?" To Qingye and Donghuang Baiji, this benefit is rather tempting. After all, Yi Hua often doesn't listen to me. If we are able to obtain an obedient Yi Hua this time, it would be pretty good. Besides, this time he was determined to send the children away, no matter how she begged, it was useless. It was better to take more benefits and train her husband well. Really? Qingye had a look of disbelief on her face. Donghuang Baiji also had a look of disbelief on her face. You are a supreme overlord, if you were to listen to your wife's words, how embarrassing would that be? Yi Hua laughed lightly, when have I ever lied to you too? Furthermore, what's wrong with me listening to my wife's words? If anyone dares to make irresponsible remarks about me, I will destroy that person. What you mean is that you will listen to us in the future? Qingye asked curiously. Yi Hua nodded his head, that's right. Donghuang Baiji asked closely, everything, including your revenge plan? That's right. Yi Hua had put in a lot of effort. Children, for the sake of your future, your father has sacrificed a lot. Qingye suddenly held onto Yi Hua's face, it just so happens that I need you to do something for me, and I can see if you are really obedient or not. Ha, Qingye, you are my empress. Not to mention one thing, I am willing to do even 10,000 things for you. Qingye said petulantly, don't speak so fast, listen to me first. Alright, as long as you two can let the children leave peacefully, I am willing to do anything. Qingye took a look at Dong Huangbaiji, and Dong Huangbaiji silently nodded her head. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows, and a bad feeling emerged from the bottom of his heart. Qingye could be seen saying seriously, if you marry Yutong, I will believe you. Yihua, F***K. I only have that little bit of excitement from having an affair, and you two want to exploit me too. This is too cruel. No. You want to test me again? These two wives of yours are really bad, to actually use this kind of method, I nearly fell for your tricks. I say, Qingye, is there any meaning in doing this? Yutong is my sister-in-law. What you are doing is trampling on the bottom line of morality. After Yihua finished speaking, he felt that it was a bit weird. It seems like I am having a great time having an affair. Dong Huangbaiji snorted coldly, you still dare to say that you are obedient. Look, the first request you make is already disobedient, Yihua, I knew that you are a swindler. Qingye, don't bother about him. In the future, don't bother about him anymore. Humph. Qingye snorted coldly, then continued cooking. Yihua had a look of, you can scram now, don't come and bother us. In actuality, Yihua and Qing Yutong had discussed about this problem before. Rather than being exposed, it would be better to do it secretly. Using Qing Yutong's words, it was very exciting, as long as I am together with Qing Yutong, my heart would beat faster, and I would be afraid that my big sister would suddenly kill me. However, Yihua was the same as well. Other than having an affair with Qing Yutong, there seemed to be nothing else that could make me so nervous. If I were to really agree to it, then this excitement would be gone, and there would be nothing else in the world that could make me so nervous and restless. Qingye, change your request, I can agree to anything you want. Yihua said gravely. I have already promised my sister-in-law that I will always be in this state, so how can I be a person who goes back on his words? Qingye said faintly, I only have this one little sister, I can't bear to part with her, and I can't let you take advantage of her. If that's the case, then there is nothing to talk about, you are not even thinking for my sake. F***K. In the past, when we were together, when I wanted to do something to your little sister, you would throw a tantrum in every possible way. Now, look at it, you want to send Yutong to my bed, but have you ever considered my feelings? I don't want to lose the only feeling of nervousness that I have. Qingye, change your request, anything is fine. Yihua felt that he had to choose between the child and Yutong. Qingye placed down the kitchen knife, then looked at her husband and said, I will only be at ease if Yutong is with you. In any case, you have spanked her butt. Chapter 787. Could it be that Yutong said it herself? She actually betrayed me. If that's the case, don't blame me for betraying you. Is this the only way for you two to be happy? Yihua asked gravely. His tone was filled with despair. He wasn't faking it. Upon thinking about how the feeling of excitement and nervousness would no longer exist, Yihua's heart was about to break. Seeing that Yihua had the intention to let go, Qingye and Dong Huangbaiji pressed Yihua onto the chair, then squatted down and held onto their husbands' hands. Dong Huangbaiji said tenderly, Yihua, this matter has indeed troubled you, but Qingye is also worried about Yutong. You are not young anymore, and we had already planned to get married a few years ago, but you were unwilling. Don't worry, we won't be angry. Yutong is not an outsider, we have lived together for so long anyway. That's right, hubby, Yutong is already so old, but sometimes, she still acts like a child. You don't have to feel burdened, we can just go and do some mental work for Yutong. Qingye persuaded. She was worried about her sister marrying someone else, and only by marrying Yihua would she be able to be at ease. It must be said that Qingye's way of thinking had also changed along with Yihua's strength. In the past, This kind of thing would definitely not be allowed, but it was precisely because of Yi Hua's strength that Qingye felt that other than Yi Hua, there seemed to be no one else in the world who could match up to her sister. Furthermore, those men were all extremely bad men. After hearing that, Yi Hua took in a deep breath. Such a wife. I love her so much, she knows how to find a woman for me. Yu Tong, in order to let the children go out peacefully, brother-in-law has no choice but to cheat you this time. Alright, as long as you two are happy. Yi Hua held onto his forehead with a painful look on his face. I'm not pretending, I'm really in pain. It feels so good to have an affair, and it's even my sister-in-law, just thinking about it makes me excited. Now that it's over, my sister-in-law has become my wife, what am I excited about? Hello, Yi Hua. Qingye kissed her husband, and Donghuang Baizhi did the same as well. Finally, one of Qingye's wishes was fulfilled, and the main reason was to give Yi Hua a huge benefit, so that he could forget about other women. Alright, then don't be angry anymore, the children have their own sky, you two can't guard them forever. Yi Hua said solemnly. Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi nodded their heads. Last night, they found out that the children were looking forward to this mission very much, and it seemed like they had been thinking about it for a long time. You guys go ahead and cook. I won't disturb you. Yes. With a heavy heart, Yi Hua walked out of the kitchen. During lunchtime, Qing Yutong appeared on time, and as usual, she played with the children. I hope that after I get a man, I will be able to mature a bit. While eating, Qingye said solemnly, Yutong, I have something to discuss with you today. When Qing Yutong saw the serious expression on her big sister's face, she knew what she was going to say, and her face immediately collapsed. It wasn't the first time that the children felt sorry for their aunts. They were going to be lectured by their mothers again. Regarding this kind of matter, Qingye didn't plan to hide it from the children. Big sister, you don't have to worry about my matters, I know. Qing Yutong said helplessly. Be a bit more serious, sit up straight. Qingye said gravely. Qing Yutong sighed and sat up straight. After going through our decision, your marriage has already been decided. Hearing what her big sister said, Qing Yutong had a stupefied look on her face as she cried out in surprise, Big sister, do you have to be so ruthless? I don't even know who the other party is, and you already decided on it. What about human rights? Donghuang Baizhi laughed lightly, your brother-in-law has already agreed to it. Yi Hua let out a breath. Yutong, we won't be able to have a clandestine love anymore in the future. After hearing what Yi Hua said, Qing Yutong was stupefied, then looked towards Yi Hua, seemingly asking, why did you agree to it, didn't we agree to have a clandestine love forever? Brother-in-law, you are lying to Yutong. The little fellows went into a daze for a moment, then congratulated their aunt one after another. In actuality, the little fellows had long treated Qing Yutong as their family, and right now, it was only justifiable. Qingye smiled slightly and said, Yutong, in the future, you are also a wife, be more steady, don't be so fussy and throw your husband's face. Qing Yutong had a bitter look on her face, looking as if she was about to die. This matter is decided then, Yi Hua, I will have to trouble you tonight. Qingye said. It was clear that she wanted to settle this matter as soon as possible. As long as they get on the bed, it would be considered as a success. Yi Hua, do you guys have to be so anxious, is it really alright for you two to be like this? Qing Yutong was stupefied, and she felt that her brain was a bit short-circuited. During the afternoon, Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi had specially decorated the bedroom. After that, Qingye pushed the two newlyweds into the bedroom. Yi Hua, be gentler, Yutong has never experienced it before, understand? Before leaving the bedroom, Qingye specially told Yi Hua to be gentle, and not to use too much force. When Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi walked out of the bedroom, Yi Hua sat weakly on the chair, and Qing Yutong was the same as well, she sat weakly at the side. Brother-in-law, do you still feel nervous and excited? Qing Yutong asked disappointedly, because right now, there was no longer any nervousness and excitement in her heart. No. Yi Hua said faintly. Brother-in-law, you lied to me. Qing Yutong snorted. They used the children to threaten me, what else can I do? Yi Hua was also helpless. Qing Yutong lied on the table and said in a low voice, Brother-in-law. I feel that calling you brother-in-law is a bit exciting. Yi Hua felt for a bit, it is indeed a bit. Then, how about I not change the way I address you in the future? Qing Yutong said happily. Sure. Yi Hua did not object, he just liked it when Qing Yutong called him brother-in-law, he was a bit excited. Qing Yutong came to Yi Hua's back, lightly hugged him, then said tenderly, Brother-in-law, big sister said just now, you have to treat me more gently, you can't use too much force. Yi Hua snorted coldly, then turned around and hugged her, do you think that is possible? Ha, I like brother-in-law's rough appearance. Hurry up, I have already waited for a few years. Yi Hua laughed. He knew that it was not easy for Qing Yutong. Although she was lacking that excitement, at least she had a home to return to. This silly woman, she even cried. However, 1 minute later, Qing Yutong immediately let out a scream, Brother-in-law, it hurts, I'm not going to do it anymore. Yi Hua pressed onto Qing Yutong's sexy body, Yutong, in the past, you were the one who was shouting every day, and now, you are not going to do it anymore. Who knew that it would be so painful? Brother-in-law, let's change the mode, I will serve you. Shut up. Ah. Qing Yutong cried on the bed, but in the end, her dream came true. Chapter 788. Qing Yutong almost forgot that there was still a mission. It seems like after completing the mission of pushing down brother-in-law, I can use whatever I want in the shop. Let's not talk about so many useless things first. Let me apply some ice on it, it will definitely swell up. Yutong. Yi Hua hugged onto Qing Yutong and said with a smile. I didn't expect Qing Yutong's taste to be so good. Brother-in-law, I can't take it anymore, you can go and look for my big sister, or even big sister Baiji, please let me go. Yi Hua slowly lifted up Qing Yutong's chin, Yutong, I suddenly discovered that this is also quite good. What's so good about it? It hurts so much. However, Yi Hua flipped over and pressed down onto her, giving Qing Yutong a fright, brother-in-law, don't, this is more or less enough. Hee, you can ask your big sister, this bit of time is just my warm-up, I am only entering the main show now. Ah, big sister. You caused Yutong to die, having changed to a new taste, this made Yi Hua feel extremely good. It is normal for it to last a bit longer, men all like new things. Therefore, Qing Yutong was unlucky, she couldn't even get down from the bed on the second day. Qing Ye and Donghuang Baiji knew that this would happen, wasn't I the same back then? However, looking at Qing Yutong's current state, it seems that she is even more miserable than me back then. Qing Ye was finally at ease with her little sister's problem, and one of her worries was finally settled. However, in the entire northern Liang land, the news of yesterday's battle had already spread, and everyone knew about it overnight. Tianliang sect joined hands with Gouda Principality and gathered 300,000 people to attack Wushu Empire. In the end, all 300,000 people were killed. Tianliang sect's elder Fang was even directly pinched to death, that scene made everyone's back turn cold. Because everyone knew of Fang Meiying's strength, to be able to pinch a rank 1 Do Huang to death, just how strong must she be? Just what is this Wushu Empire, why have I never heard of it before? A lot of people came over with curiosity to take a look at the powerful Wushu Empire. This also achieved Yi Hua's initial goal, and he could clearly feel that the number of people entering the city was increasing. As long as you live in my territory, you will never want to leave again. Within Tianliang sect's hall, Lan Gu was sitting at the top, and there were 2 elders sitting beside him. However, there were 2 elders' seats that were empty, and those seats belonged to Fang Meiying and Ma Ji. Fang Meiying's body was placed in the middle, and everyone's expression was very heavy. Mu Ran knelt behind her master. The tall firmament red stood behind Mu Ran, giving off a sense of oppression. Out of the 200,000 disciples, only a few hundred returned. Elder Fong has fallen, and Elder Ma's whereabouts are unknown. The one who spoke was one of the elders, Yu Wenba. This person was wearing a blue gown, and he had jet black sideburns. A strand of black hair fell beside the corner of his eyes, giving people a kind of frivolous feeling. Yeah. This is the first time our Cold Sky sect has suffered such a heavy loss, sect master. Give the order. Chi Lu was another elder. He was dressed in a black robe and had a small beard on his chin. As the sovereign, Lan Gu's face was taut. 200,000 disciples were gone just like that. If word got out, Tianliang sect would lose all its face. Mu ran. What exactly is going on with Voidless Empire? How strong were they? You've been captured by them for a period of time, it's impossible that you don't know anything. Lan Gu questioned in a deep voice. Sect Master, Mu Ran doesn't dare to lie to you, what Mu Ran said just now is the truth. Mu Ran had already told Lan Gu everything that he knew. Lan Gu questioned coldly, why did that emperor treat you well? And he even let you go easily. Mu Ran really doesn't know. Chi Lu asked, Mu Ran, since the other party is so strong, why did they value you, a heaven's law doer, so much? Furthermore, that emperor treated you quite well. Yu Wenba also said faintly. The two's meaning was very clear, Mu Ran, you couldn't have defected to the enemy, right? After hearing that, Mu Ran hurriedly explained, Sect Master, why would Mu Ran betray Tianliang sect? Mu Ran, but why did I hear that after hearing what you said, that Snow Corpse gave up on attacking? Lan Gu slightly squinted his eyes and let out a chilling aura. Mu Ran doesn't know. Chi Lu took a cold look at Mu Ran, then suddenly stood up and shouted, Mu Ran. You don't know the important things that I asked you. Do you still have Tianliang sect in your heart? Mu Ran stubbornly lowered his head and didn't say anything. After such a thing happened, why was everyone's spearhead pointed at him? At this moment, a disciple ran in from outside the door, reporting to Sect Master, Elder Ma is back. Elder Ma was still alive. Lan Gu and the others all stood up, and they saw Ma Ji being carried in by two disciples. Sect Master, you have to take revenge for us, those people are so vicious. Ma Ji laid on the wooden stretcher and shouted in pain. Lan Gu asked faintly, Elder Ma, tell me in detail. Sect Master, all of us went to save Mu Ran, but after Mu Ran was brought back by Elder Fong, she tried her best to put in a good word for Wushu Empire, and because of this, even Elder Fong got angry. I feel that Mu Ran has already defected to the enemy. Ma Ji directly pushed all the blame for the failure onto Mu Ran. After hearing that, Mu Ran's brain buzzed, and he said in disbelief, Elder Ma, how could Mu Ran defected to the enemy, you are talking nonsense. Mu Ran. Why did you go alone, why did you go alone, and why did you go alone, but all of us got into trouble, can you explain clearly? And who is the man behind you? Ma Ji questioned in a deep voice. Mu Ran didn't know how to explain, and lowered his head without saying anything. However, this attitude seemed to be tacitly admitting the truth. Mu Ran, do you admit to your guilt? Lan Gu sternly shouted. A peak Do Huang aura was quietly emitted, causing people to be unable to breathe. And this aura directly pressed on the weak Mu Ran's body. Mu Ran really didn't betray Tianliang sect. Mu Ran endured the pressure from the sect master and stubbornly held on. Yuan Gang coldly shouted, Mu Ran. Although you are a heaven doja. But don't forget, what Tianliang sect can give you, Tianliang sect can also take back. Sect Master, please believe in Mu Ran. Mu Ran's current words appeared so weak and powerless, and basically had no use. Such an explanation was just a cover-up when it landed in the ears of these people. Lan Gu said in a low voice, Mu Ran. This time around, everyone went for you. However, you have to take responsibility for such an outcome. Sect Master, Mu Ran had already persuaded Elder Ma and Master back then. At that time, Master and Elder Ma didn't listen. They wanted to snatch Wushu Empire. Mu Ran shouted loudly. Beads of sweat on his forehead flowed down along his face. Ma Ji shouted explosively after hearing that, "Sect Master, how could our Tianliang sect do such a thing? Mu Ran, don't slander us." "Elder Ma, you." Mu Ran looked at Ma Ji in disbelief. How could he say such a thing? Chapter 789. Looking at her master's corpse in front of her, Mu Ran was a bit flustered. In the past, this place was my home, but now, this place is so unfamiliar to me, everyone is so unfamiliar to me. Mu Ran did not do it. Of course I won't admit it. At this moment, Mu Ran's eyes were filled with determination. What right do you have to push the blame onto me? Stubborn. Lan Gu snorted coldly and raised his index finger. A white-colored dookie that carried along with it the aura of death could be seen attacking towards the middle of Mu Ran's eyebrows. And Mu Ran seemed to have already expected the result of the attack, and she slowly closed her eyes. I'm still wrong, what that emperor said is right. After waiting for a long time, Mu Ran did not sense death. She slowly opened her eyes and saw a tall figure in front of her again. Mu Ran's eyes reddened instantly. This was the third time. Every time, Sky Red would stand in front of him and block the threat of death. Sang Konghong's actions were undoubtedly shattering the defenses of Mu Ran's maiden heart. Every girl would have such a dream, where the man they loved would shield them from the wind and rain, and Mu Ran was no exception. Although Sang Konghong was ugly, his heart was kinder than everyone else's. Sang Konghong's tall figure stood in front of Mu Ran. The white battle energy had struck Sang Konghong's abdomen. There wasn't even a piece of skin on his sturdy abs. Blue Valley and the other elders were dumbfounded. How was this possible? The sect master's cultivation technique was actually unable to harm him at all. Everyone's gaze became solemn. Who are you? Lan Gu did not dare to be careless. This person was able to receive his attack without the slightest injury, so his strength could be seen. It was extremely powerful. Sang Konghong did not say anything, but Mu Ran, who was behind her, said, "He's my guard." Lan Gu suddenly laughed out loud, his voice filled with mockery. Mu Ran. You've got guts now. Lying was actually so easy. Looks like Heavenly Tao's strength has blinded your eyes. Mu Ran stood up slowly and looked at Lan Gu. Sect leader, Mu Ran is telling the truth. Then I'll kill you first, traitor. Lan Gu's figure suddenly disappeared. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Mu Ran. His fingers formed a claw as he grabbed at Mu Ran's neck. However, an even bigger hand suddenly appeared. He grabbed Blue Valley's wrist tightly. Lan Gu was shocked, Mu Ran even more so. Sang Konghong. He was actually able to grab onto sect leader's wrist. At this moment, Firmament Hong had no other choice but to unleash his full strength. Otherwise, Mu Ran would definitely die. Moreover, he had held it in for a long time. He had wanted to kill everyone in this room for a long time. A bunch of degenerates. Bullying a loyal girl. A longsword materialized in Blue Valley's left hand. It went straight for Blue Sky Red's heart. Ding! The sharp sword pierced Sang Konghong's chest, but a strange sound rang out. Sang Konghong's skin was like steel, and the tip of the sword couldn't penetrate it at all. Lan Gu was stupefied, Yuan Gang was also dumbfounded. Qi Lu was also stunned. Ma Ji felt that he was dreaming. Mu Ran's jaw dropped. How did Sky Red suddenly become so strong? Sang Konghong grabbed Lan Gu's wrist and flung him away. Bang! There was a hole in the roof of the hall, and the sect leader of the Cold Sky sect was thrown out by Sang Konghong. It was unknown if he would turn into a star. The entire hall was so silent that one could hear a pin drop on the ground. Since the sect leader was thrown out, the three elders didn't dare to say a single word. Meanwhile, Sun Konghong grabbed onto Mu Rant's hand, causing a blush to appear on Mu Rant's pale face. Let's go. A muffled voice came out from under the iron mask. Mu Ran looked at Sun Konghong blankly, and discovered that she was a bit unable to understand Sun Konghong. Isn't he a mute? Why is he able to speak now? Although Mu Ran was puzzled, she still followed Sun Konghong and left. This cold sky sect has already changed. While Sun Konghong took the opportunity when Mu Ran wasn't paying attention and shot out a strand of deviant fire from his fingertip, and noiselessly drilled into Ma Ji's body. This man should have died in Wushu Empire from the start. After Sun Konghong left with Mu Ran, Ma Ji suddenly felt that his body was extremely irritable, as if there was a lump of fire burning him. Aw! Ma Ji immediately let out a scream. Under Ma Ji's skin was a patch of fiery red, and there seemed to be something burning under his skin. Yuan Gang and Qi Lu were both stupefied. In a blink of an eye, Ma Ji powerlessly laid down on the ground, and his entire body emitted out a charred smell. All that was left was a jet-black skin. Not long after, Lan Gu, who was thrown out, came back. His white hair was incomparably messy, as if he had just driven a convertible sports car back. Where is he? Lan Gu shouted angrily. He could no longer maintain his image as a sect master. He's already gone, Yuan Gang said, trembling with fear. The other party was too terrifying. Lan Gu heaved a sigh of relief and looked at Ma Ji. What's wrong with him? I don't know. It was like a fire just now. Qi Lu also lost his imposing manner and said in a low voice. Lan Gu said gravely, I didn't expect that. Mu Ran actually managed to find such a powerful bodyguard. I've underestimated her. Grandmaster, this guard is very strong. What should we do? Yu Wenba asked in a low voice. Humph. Since Mu Ran is heartless, don't blame me for being ruthless. Aren't her parents in Gouda Principality? Hearing the sect master's words, the two elders instantly understood. No one is allowed to say a word about what happened today. The Blue Valley had been humiliated so badly. They definitely did not want others to know about it. Their dignity was already on the ground. Yes. Everyone replied respectfully. However, right at this moment, a voice suddenly rang out. Wushu Empire invites you over. Tianliang Sect's sect master will arrive at Wushu Empire in 5 days. If you don't come, the sect will be exterminated. The one who finished speaking was naturally Bai Gu. Passing on such words seemed to be a trick that Bai Gu was very good at. After finishing speaking, Bai Gu went to another place to pass on the message. However, before Lan Gu and the others could react, they even felt that what they heard just now was an auditory hallucination. Sect Master. I seem to have heard it just now. Yuan Gang mumbled, shock could be seen within his eyes. I heard it too. Qi Lu said while trembling with fear. Lan Gu's expression was gloomy. This damned Wushu Empire, they are simply trampling on Tianliang Sect's dignity. On the other side, Bai Gu arrived at Gouda Principality. At this time, the prince had yet to return, and King Feng Yongzhang was currently in his study room meditating with a grave expression on his face. Wushu Empire invites you over. Gouda Principality's king must arrive at Gouda Principality in 5 days, if not, the country will be exterminated. Feng Yongzhang went into a daze as he looked at his surroundings. Could it be that I am having a misconception? However, those palace maids also revealed a perplexed expression. Did you all hear it just now? Feng Yongzhang asked gravely. The palace maids who were standing at the side hurriedly kneeled down. Chapter 790. How was this possible? Were the rumors true? White Bones went to the other 2 countries and said the same thing before leaving. As for whether they would come or not, it was up to them. If he came, there would still be a chance of survival. If he didn't, there would definitely be no chance. At this moment, Sun Konghong and Mu Ran had already left Tianliang Sect and were standing beside a clear river. Mu ran through the stone. Just like before, Sun Konghong stood behind Mu Ran. You're lying to me. You know how to talk and you're very strong, Mu Ran said with her back facing Sky High Hong. Sun Konghong's heart sank, and she hurriedly explained, 1 minute later. No, another minute passed. Yes, so, Mu Ran looked at Sun Konghong in a daze, not interrupting him. After listening, she asked, is it difficult for you to speak? How long does it take to say another word? Yes. Sun Konghong nodded. Mu Ran finally understood. This way of speaking was indeed no different from being mute. It was understandable. But you lied to me. You're clearly very powerful. Mu Ran seemed to be blaming Sun Konghong, but her tone was like that of a little girl throwing a tantrum. Sun Konghong didn't want Mu Ran to misunderstand and hurriedly said, Mu Ran quietly listened to Sun Konghong's explanation. Although she spoke a little slowly, Mu Ran did not interrupt and appeared very serious. Sun Konghong spent half an hour explaining his intentions. He had fallen off a cliff by chance and refined his strength, but he didn't dare to tell others about it. It had to be said that Sun Konghong had learned how to lie. At the very least, he didn't stupidly say that he was the emperor's subordinate and that he was here to lie to him. From this incident, it could be seen that Sun Konghong had developed some emotional intelligence. It seemed like she did not want to lose Mu Ran, even though she did not admit it. However, when Sun Konghong looked at Mu Ran who was quietly listening to what she was saying, she felt very strange in her heart, and seemed to be moved. He was always a listener. In the past, when he spoke to Yu Hua would always interrupt him and guess what he meant. Whether it was Yu Hua or the flag master, they were all the same. Because they spoke too slowly, others did not have the patience to listen. However, Mu Ran, she didn't have a single trace of impatience on her face, and seemed to be very serious. She was the first girl to listen to him seriously. Mu Ran suddenly took off her iron mask and looked at Sun Konghong's strange face. She asked seriously, is what you said true? Yes. Sun Konghong nodded. It seemed like she had really gotten smarter after the incident with Yu Hua. She knew how to lie to little girls. Mu Ran nodded and gently bit her lips. Then, she suddenly kissed Sun Konghong on the cheek and ran away with a red face. Sun Konghong was stupefied. He had lived for more than 10,000 years, yet today, he was forcefully kissed by a girl. Shouldn't he be angry? But why do I feel a little happy in my heart? What a strange feeling. Sun Konghong was stunned for a long time. Then, he put on his iron mask and slowly walked to Mu Ran's side. Right now, Mu Ran's hands were tightly clasped together, feeling very shy and nervous. Just now, I was too impulsive. I kissed him, how embarrassing. He wouldn't blame her for being frivolous, would he? Did he think that she was a casual girl? Sun Konghong took in a deep breath, as though she was making some great decision. She then reached out to hold that small hand once more and headed toward the direction of Voidless Empire. Meanwhile, Mu Ran was being held by Sun Konghong. Looking at that tall and big back view of Sun Konghong, Mu Ran felt as if she was being surrounded by a strong sense of security, and it was very warm. The two of them were not in a hurry to return. Instead, they strolled along the green mountains and clear waters, as if they were on a date. If it was the Sun Konghong of the past, he would have directly brought Mu Ran back to Voidless Empire. But now, he actually knew how to go sightseeing. It seemed like she had been enlightened quite a bit. At the very least, the girl had expressed her feelings, and Sun Konghong had also expressed her attitude. Although he didn't say anything, silence spoke louder than words. And the main reason why Yi Hua invited these big shots of northern Liang land over was to announce some things. For example, in the future, Wushu Empire will have the final say in northern Liang land. In the future, these three countries will become Wushu Empire's subsidiary countries. And of course, Tianliang sect. You can disagree, but as for what the consequences will be, you can imagine it even with your buttocks. This was a feast at Hongmen. Either they chose to submit or they chose to die. It was time for Liang Bei to submit. After all, the northern Liang was a small place. However, for the past few nights, Qing Yutong had been rather tired. After all, the children were about to leave. Qing Ye and Dong Huang Baiji had given all of their time to the children. Thus, Qing Yutong had to take over the glorious and great mission. Meanwhile, Qing Yutong was complaining incessantly. In the past, I always wanted my brother-in-law to hug me, and now, he did hug me. But how can he hug me from night to day? I can't even rest for a single moment. Thus, Qing Yutong, this new empress, chose to hide and seek. In the beginning, she would hide in the palace. She would either go to Zishan Palace or Yi Zizi's palace. In any case, she would go wherever she went. In the end, she would be found by Yi Hua and carried back. On this day, Qing Yutong learned from experience and directly ran out of the palace. Right now, Qing Yutong was walking on the streets of Voidless Empire. However, her walking posture was a bit strange, as if she was injured. Bastard brother-in-law, to actually use so much strength, it still hurts even now. Qing Yutong muttered a few times. I told him to rest, but he isn't even willing to rest. Tonight, I won't go back no matter what. It had been a long time since Qing Yutong left the palace. She discovered that Voidless Empire had changed a lot. The population ratio had increased, and right now, she could even see children playing on the streets. There were even couples and the likes. Suddenly, Qing Yutong felt that a big hand was hugging onto her waist. That big hand was simply too familiar. I was found again. Brother-in-law, just let me go for a night. Take pity on Yutong. Qing Yutong immediately hugged onto Yi Hua, then started acting pitiful. Yi Hua sneered, in the past, did you think that I wouldn't be able to find you just because you ran out of the palace? Brother-in-law sob, sob, sob. Qing Yutong acted coquettishly again. Let's go. Yi Hua said faintly. In any case, this is my own empire, and I didn't even inspect it much. Qing Yutong was delighted. She hugged onto Yi Hua's arm and walked onto the streets. It seems like this is the first time I'm going on a date with brother-in-law, and it feels pretty good. Yutong, what do you think about this inn? Yi Hua looked towards a rather luxurious inn and said. Qing Yutong didn't react in time and said casually, it's pretty good. Let's go and get a room then. Qing Yutong, brother-in-law. We can talk about it, there is no need for us to be in a hurry. If you were to spoil Yutong, you wouldn't be able to use her in the future. Chapter 791. Qing Yutong said, I don't want to go in, brother-in-law is shameless, messing with me every day. Yi Hua turned his head around and said faintly, Yutong, if you want to find excitement outside, that's fine too, I can satisfy you. Then let's just get a room. Qing Yutong had a gloomy look on her face. So brother-in-law is actually so clingy. Although I am gloomy, I am still quite happy. However, after walking into the inn, it was actually full. Yi Hua walked out with a gloomy face. I don't believe that all the inns are full. In the end, after asking a few inns, all of them were full. In actuality, the number of people who knew Yi Hua, the emperor, was rather few. He often stayed in the palace and didn't come out much, so everyone thought that he was an ordinary person. Recently, there were quite a lot of people who entered the city, and all of the inns were basically full. Qing Yutong looked at Yi Hua's gloomy face and immediately let out a sweet-sounding laughter. Brother-in-law, don't be like this, it's not like Yutong will run away, it's all yours. In the past, I wanted to increase the population, but now, I suddenly want to decrease the population. Yi Hua said faintly. Qing Yutong was very happy in her heart, because all of this is for me. I am so happy. Although there is less excitement and nervousness, there is more of a taste of happiness. Brother-in-law, how about we? Qing Yutong blinked her beautiful eyes. Towards Qing Yutong's intentions, how could Yi Hua not understand? Qing Yutong could be seen pulling Yi Hua and running into a dark alley, then pushing Yi Hua onto the wall. She said, "Little Gongzi, let's see where you can run to today." "Oh, you are even putting on an act for me." In actuality, Yi Hua quite liked this kind of Qing Yutong. Qing Ye and Donghuang Baizhi are a lot more well-behaved. "What do you want?" Yi Hua said coldly. "I want." Qing Yutong directly pressed onto Yi Hua's body, then stood on her tiptoes and kissed him. Yi Hua did not hesitate and held on to Qing Yutong's but with both of his hands. These clothes are really hard to take off. Just as the fire was about to ignite, a ray of light suddenly appeared. "Audacious madman, you actually dare to take liberties with an innocent woman in Wushu Empire." Yi Hua and Qing Yutong, who were in the midst of kissing, could be seen getting a bit stupefied. Yi Hua and Qing Yutong, who were in the middle of kissing, were a bit stupefied. Qing Yutong immediately felt embarrassed and hid behind Yi Hua. "This is so embarrassing," other people saw this. "Luckily, I didn't fight with Yi Hua just now. It was better to have less passion in the wild in the future." Yi Hua looked towards Kai Yun and said gravely, "Kai Yun, what are you doing instead of sleeping so late at night?" With an exaggerated expression on his face, Kai Yun said, "And everyone kneeled onto the ground, so it was my emperor, it was my subordinate's negligence, I didn't know that my emperor and empress were here, that." Qing Yutong felt that her face was about to bleed. "This matter will definitely spread like wildfire within the team, and the fact that I and His Honor did it in a dark alley, and Big Sister will also know about it. I'm finished, get lost. My great mood has been disrupted by you." Yi Hua shouted out gravely. "Just a moment ago, I was in a passionate mood, and right now, I no longer have any mood at all. This subordinate will scram right away. My Majesty, this alley is not hygienic, there are many germs." "Scram!" Yi Hua shouted with a black face. "This Kai Yun is definitely doing this on purpose." Kai Yun immediately brought along his men and left. His Honor flew into a rage out of humiliation. After everyone left, Yi Hua said helplessly, "Let's go, let's return to the palace. Brother-in-law, Yutong is definitely going to be made fun of." Qing Yutong said with a bitter face. "If anyone dares to make fun of you, I will hang them up and beat them up. Brother-in-law, Yutong wants to lie in your embrace and sleep. All right, I will spare you this once tonight." "Moi, thank you, brother-in-law." Qing Yutong leaned onto Yi Hua's shoulder happily, and the two slowly walked towards the palace. However, after returning to the palace, Yi Hua's mood became much better. "Therefore, the words that I said just now are all useless now, I should first settle my physiological needs, then go to sleep." Qing Yutong shouted out loud, "Brother-in-law is a liar, I am lying to myself. However, it feels really good, just that the time taken is a bit longer." 5 days passed by very quickly, and Yi Hua received a report from Baigu. 1 sect and 3 countries are all on their way here. Hearing this result, Yi Hua was a bit disappointed. After all, if all 3 countries don't come, I would have a reason to attack. What a pity, those people are still rather smart, they know that they are coming. "Reporting to your honor, Muran has returned to the palace," Baigu said respectfully. Right now, Yi Hua was currently reading Kangluo Continent's history book. In the past, I have never read about it, but now that I am not busy, reading about it every day is rather interesting. "Bring her over to see me," Yi Hua said faintly. "Yes." Not long later, Yi Hua heard the sound of footsteps. "Long live your majesty." Yi Hua's back was facing Muran as he said faintly, "Your majesty." "Muran, don't you think that you should change it? Did you forget about what you promised me?" Muran, who was kneeling on the ground, paused for a moment. "I don't even know what the emperor saw in me." "Long live my emperor! Long live my emperor! Long live my emperor!" Muran shouted out sincerely. A trace of an evil smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. "I, the Supreme Overlord, managed to turn a loyal Muran into my side with just a snap of my fingers, and she willingly joined my side. Seems like my ability to control people is becoming more and more awesome. Yi Hua placed down the book, then turned around and looked towards Muran. You can stand up. Thank you, my emperor. Muran stood up respectfully and sized up the emperor in front of him. Why is he so smart? If only my brain is half as good as his, that would be fine. How is it? I didn't lie to you, right? I didn't. Then, do you think that I did something wrong? Yi Hua asked. Muran took a deep breath. From my emperor's perspective, I didn't do anything wrong, and I even gave you a chance. Continue. However, my emperor's way of doing things will attract a lot of people's attention. After all, Northern Liang is just a small place. Hearing what Muran said, Yi Hua revealed out a smile, but very quickly, he retracted his smile. Muran, you have overlooked an important problem. Muran doesn't understand. I want everyone to know that in Northern Liang, there is an existence that they cannot afford to offend. Yi Hua had changed his strategy. He didn't take the initiative to look for trouble with others, and instead, he waited for others to come and look for trouble with him. After that, he would be able to openly exterminate those people. Muran thought for a moment. That's true, the emperor is so powerful, it seems like there is no need for me to fear anyone. That's right, accompany me for a meal tonight. Yi Hua said faintly. That would be Muran's honor. Go and rest then. Thank you, my emperor. What Muran didn't know was that Yi Hua was going to invite the three kingdoms to a banquet tonight. If others were to see Muran sitting at Yi Hua's side, those people's expressions would definitely be very interesting. The expression of those people should be very interesting. This was also the reason why Yi Hua wanted to call Muran over. Right now, Wuliang Sect's sect master had already arrived at the city gate. Beside him was Yu Wengang and Qi Luo. Looking at the imposing city gate, the three finally understood why Ma Ji and Fang Meiying wanted to take down the city gate. The city gate was indeed very attractive. End of this chapter. Chapter 792. Sect Master, this Wushu Empire is truly majestic. Just this city wall alone is even more majestic than Aluo River's 3 absolute palace. Yu Wenba, who was at the side, couldn't help but exclaim. Qi Luo looked at the endless city walls and said, I'm afraid even the King Ren prison is comparable to the 3 absolute hall. Lan Gu lightly stroked his white beard, did not say anything, and walked towards the city gate. When he saw the white-armored warrior at the city gate, he frowned slightly. There was no fluctuation of battle energy, just like an ordinary person. What did that mean? From what they said, these guards were all of the Dosher class. Filled with doubt, the 3 of them walked into Voidless Empire. This time, the 3 of them had been very low-key. There was no suspicion of exaggeration. After all, Wushu Empire's strength had yet to be fully displayed. However, from the looks of it now, it was already extremely powerful. It was an existence that could not be provoked. Not long after the Tianliang sect entered the city, the king of the Gouda Principality, Feng Yongzhang, also appeared with a gloomy expression. However, this kind of expression disappeared very quickly because he was shocked by the Voidless Empire in front of him, and he was unable to come back to his senses for a very long time. Compared to his Gouda Principality, his place was just a place where the natives lived. It was not worth mentioning at all. He didn't even feel like a king anymore, more like a village chief. He really didn't know how far behind he was without comparison. The Gouda Principality still had its grandeur. The long procession displayed the grandeur of an emperor. But in front of Voidless Empire, this was merely a joke. Feng Yongzhang also knew that he would be making a fool of himself if he came alone. It was not only Feng Yongzhang who was like this. The Xuanzhong Kingdom and the Great Earth Empire who came after him were the same. Such a procession walked into the city and was pointed at by the commoners. Some even covered their mouths and chuckled. You're all defeated people, yet you still have the nerve to act like this. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at by others? You're just lowering your own status. Looking at the Tianliang sect that just entered, they kept a low profile, always walking. The procession soon arrived in front of the palace. At this time, the kings were about to come down. Beside the palace stood sect leader Lan Gu and the others. Why didn't they enter? It was because they wanted to wait for them to enter together. As the sect master of the heavenly cold sect, how could Lan Gu tolerate this temper? He absolutely could not tolerate this. So, he just stood there silently, throwing a tantrum. The three emperors got off their carriages and saw Blue Valley's group. They didn't think much of it and hurried over to greet them. We pay our respects to sect leader Lan. The three kings respectfully greeted. Lan Gu replied with his eyes closed, appearing cold and arrogant. Among the three kings, other than Feng Yongzhang, Xuanzhong Kingdom's Song Feiang had sent assassins to assassinate Mu Ran. The other thinner one was Guan Jiaxiang, the king of the Taitian Empire. He looked nervous. Seeing that Lan Gu was silent, Guan Jiaxiang cautiously asked, "Sect Master Lan, what happened this time? Are we considered to be sheep walking into a tiger's den today?" Song Feiang also said worriedly, "That's right, Lord Lan. I heard that your 200,000 disciples were all killed. Patriarch Fang was crushed to death and Patriarch Ma is missing. What should we do? We can't fight back at all." Hearing Song Feiang's words, Lan Gu's face darkened even more. He seemed to be reminding himself that 200,000 disciples and 2 elders had died. Feng Yongzhang said in a low voice, "What are you all worried about? Everything will be decided by Sect Master Lan." Song Feiang and Guan Jiaxiang didn't say anything. They could only rely on the powerful Tianliang sect now. "Feng Yongzhang, have you done what I told you to do?" Lan Gu asked with murderous intent. "Sect Master Lan, Mu Ran's entire family has been beheaded. No one was spared," Feng Yongzhang said respectfully. Lan Gu nodded. "Very good. That bastard. How dare he betray the Tianliang sect?" "Yeah, I feel weird when Mu Ran said she came here alone," Feng Yongzhang also said, trying to curry favor with her. The heavy palace gates suddenly made a sound. This made them stand up straight and look at the gate that was slowly opening. Yi Hong appeared at the gate. She looked at them and said, "Follow me." Everyone took a deep breath. They didn't know if it was a blessing or a curse to enter this gate. It all depended on fate. Yi Hong led the way in front, followed by all the big shots of the Northern Liang sect. They walked up the long stairs and finally arrived at the main hall. "Everyone, please." Yi Hong didn't plan to go in and smiled. Lan Gu and the others didn't have any doubts and walked into the main hall. Walking into the main hall, Lan Gu felt very warm. The floor beneath his feet seemed to be unusual, and the dragon pillar was emitting an astonishing aura. Sitting on the throne at the center, is that Wushu Empire's emperor. His appearance is indeed extraordinary, and his appearance is astonishing. And the one who was sitting below, it's actually Mu Ran. When Lan Gu and the others saw Mu Ran, they were all stupefied. When Mu Ran saw the sect master and the others, he was also stupefied. "I didn't expect that other than me, the emperor would treat someone else. This kind of meeting, it seems a bit awkward." Yi Hua, who was sitting on the throne, liked this scene very much, especially when he saw the look of disbelief on Lan Gu and the others' faces. In Lan Gu's heart, he never expected that Mu Ran would have really defected to the enemy. Looking at him now, he is actually eating with the emperor. When he thought about everything that happened, a terrifying thought emerged in Lan Gu's mind. Everything was arranged. Mu Ran's disappearance was a ploy to make me send troops over to save him and then snatch him away. In the eyes of others, I am no different from a bandit, but Wushu Empire won a good reputation and defeated the strongest Tianliang sect. Damn it! I was actually tricked. Lan Gu wasn't the only one who thought this way. Even Feng Yongzhang had the same thought. It seemed like everything had been planned. What a vicious girl. My son still hasn't returned yet. All of this was arranged by Yi Hua. In the past, Muran was still loyal, but you all made her bitterly disappointed, and now, she is following me. Suddenly, Feng Yongzhang's expression became extremely ugly, because he thought of something. I executed Muran's family. If Muran really defected to Wushu Empire, then, this matter would be huge. Everyone stood below without any etiquette. After all, they were sect masters or even kings, there was no reason for them to kneel and kowtow. Yi Hua looked at them indifferently, then said to Muran, "Muran, shouldn't you say something at a time like this?" Muran came back to her senses. Of course, she understood what the emperor meant, but should she really say those words? After a while, Muran seemed to have made a decision. That hesitant expression of hers became much calmer, and she shouted out, "Why are you still not bowing after seeing my emperor?" Yi Hua was very satisfied with Muran's attitude. Chapter 793. X to the power of 8 1 Z yen ad free update fastest new August 1st Chinese Xiaoshuanet. As his subordinate, no matter how weak he was, he couldn't lose in terms of momentum. No matter how big the problem was, he would be there to shoulder it. Hearing Muran's words, Lan Gu's expression turned extremely ugly. It was as if he had just eaten sh*t. In the past, this lass always had to kneel and worship him, but now she actually wanted him to kneel and worship someone else. What an ingrate! Feng Yongzhang, who was standing behind Lan Gu, felt the same way. This girl was very scheming. She had unknowingly latched onto such a thick thigh. Scheming *tch. Guan Jiaxiang and Song Feiyang, who were standing at the side, did not say anything. However, as long as Lan Gu knelt, they would definitely have to. They had no other choice. It all depended on Blue Valley now. Seeing that no one responded, Muran shouted again, "Greet the emperor. Kneel down and pay your respects." Lan Gu really wanted to strangle this brat to death. However, he didn't dare to do so. If he were to make a move, something might happen. He didn't want to bring about a calamity that could destroy his sect. But didn't kneeling mean that he had submitted? If word of this got out, where would his face go? Lan Gu took a deep breath, cupped his fists and shouted, "Cold Sky sect leader Lan Gu greets your majesty." The people standing at the back also shouted. This should be considered giving face to the other party. The other party wouldn't force them anymore. Muran didn't know if the emperor accepted it, so she didn't say anything. Yi Hua placed down the chopsticks in his hand and asked faintly, "Is your hearing normal?" Everyone's heart sank. This emperor was really insatiable. Yet, he was still unwilling to let it go. "Your Majesty, of course our hearing is normal," Lan Gu said in a deep voice. Yi Hua leaned on the dragon throne and said faintly, "Since it is normal, hurry up and pay your respects to the emperor. After that, we can talk about other matters." "Your Majesty, isn't this inappropriate?" Lan Gu said in a low voice. There was a hint of anger in his tone. It had been a long time since Lan Gu had been humiliated like this. Oh. Inappropriate? Was the strength that this empress displayed not strong enough? If this is the case, you all can go home now and welcome my strength. I will not disappoint you all. Yi Hua's meaning was very clear. Today, if you all do not kneel, then you all are being disrespectful. If that's the case, I will have a reason to kill all of you one by one. So, don't ever give me a reason to kill all of you. If not, all of you will die miserably. This isn't a joke, this is a serious warning. Hearing such a threat, the scene became quiet for a while, and it seemed strange and oppressive. At this time, a terrifying panic spread in the hearts of the three kings, and their bodies trembled. Finally, Xuanzhong Kingdom's Song Feiyang couldn't suppress the fear in his heart and knelt down with a thud. Song Feiyang, who was wearing the emperor's gown, kneeled down. This scene caused even Muran to be very surprised. However, Yi Hua didn't kneel down and continued to wait quietly. As Song Feiyang knelt, it seemed to have an effect. Guan Jiaxiang, who was next to him, could not help but kneel as well. The fear in his heart had reached its limit. Feng Yongzhang was the same. His legs were trembling, and the fear in his heart was magnified infinitely. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore and knelt down. Only the three from the Cold Sky sect did not kneel. The three kings are smart to choose a better future. Master, if you don't want to kneel, then bring your people back to eat a hot meal and wait for death to come. Don't disturb the conversation between me and the three kings. Lan Gu turned around to look. The three kings were kneeling on the ground, trembling, while Yu Wengang and Qi Lu stood silently behind him. Blue Valley's heart was in a fierce struggle. Should he believe the words of this emperor? If he turned around and left, he would really be able to destroy the sect. That would be the end of him. However, this emperor could also be scaring him. A person who could easily kill his elder, would such a person lie to him? And that confident look didn't seem to be an act. Blue Valley took a step back and slowly knelt down. When Yu Wengang and Qi Lu saw their sect leader kneeling, they didn't think much and followed suit. Mu Ran couldn't believe what she was seeing. All the big shots of Northern Liang were kneeling. This can't be a dream, right? Yi Hua let out a light sigh, seemingly a bit disappointed. Seems like these people are all smart people. Lan Gu took the lead and shouted, Your Majesty! Hooray! 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 Your Majesty! Hooray! 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 Yi Hua said faintly, Get up, sit at the side and eat. Thank you, Your Majesty. After everyone sat down, Yi Hua said lightly, Actually, I hope that all of you can have a bit of backbone. This was a sentence of mockery. Everyone's expression turned ugly. This way, I will be able to kill all of you. Following Yi Hua's words, the few big shots' expression changed. They felt that it was fortunate that they kneeled just now. After all, life and death were decided by kneeling, why would they not kneel and instead ask for death? Only an idiot would choose death. Lan Gu seemed to be a bit autistic. Meanwhile, Feng Yongzhang said respectfully, Thank you, Your Majesty, for not killing us. Yi Hua didn't say anything after hearing it. He picked up his chopsticks and said, Have a taste of these dishes, they are all top-quality dishes, they are definitely dishes that you all have never eaten before. Especially this crayfish, it is delicious, remember to wear gloves before eating, there is a lot of oil in it. After hearing that, Song Feang really wore a disposable glove and tasted the crayfish. Soon after, Song Feang praised, My Majesty, it is so delicious. Ha, let's eat, let's talk while eating. Yi Hua said with a smile. Returning to this place was like returning home, Yi Hua was smiling a lot. Feng Yongzhang and Guan Jiaxiang didn't stand on ceremony and tasted the crayfish. As expected, it is delicious. Mu Ran is my subordinate now, and what you all were in the past, you all will still be what you all are in the future. Hearing what Yi Hua said, everyone paused for a moment. This seems to be good news, I thought that I am going to be the king by myself, but it turns out that nothing has changed. Soon after, Yi Hua continued, But, in the future, Mu Ran will be managing all of you, her words are my words. If you all don't obey me, then change to someone else who is obedient, do you all understand what I mean? Lan Gu's hands that were placed under the table were tightly clenched. Right now, I actually have to listen to a little girl. How can I tolerate this? I can't tolerate this. Let's eat a crayfish first to calm down. We will all listen to my emperor. The few big shots shouted out. Yi Hua nodded his head. Yi Hua's mood was pretty good. No one dared to anger me. At this moment, Mu Ran asked, Are my parents doing well in Gouda Principality? Feng Yongzhang was immediately startled, and even Lan Gu's expression tensed up. If I had known that Mu Ran had surrendered to me, I definitely wouldn't have gone to kill Mu Ran's family. Feng Yongzhang knew that he wouldn't be able to hide the matter anymore. After eating the last crayfish, he hurriedly walked to the center of the table and kneeled down. Seeing Feng Yongzhang's action, Mu Ran's expression immediately became unsightly, and a feeling of fear spread within her mind. What happened? Yi Hua asked faintly. Feng Yongzhang hurriedly said, My emperor. Mu Ran's family has already been completely killed by me, but this was all under Sect Master Lan's order. He said that Mu Ran betrayed the sect, and thus, he wanted to kill Mu Ran's family. I had no choice but to do so. Old Tai, set a small goal first. Chapter 794. Hearing Feng Yongzhang's words, Mu Ran's vision turned pitch black. She sat powerlessly on the ground and her beautiful eyes became misty. She clenched her fists tightly and glared at Lan Gu. After hearing that, Yi Hua slightly wrinkled his brows and asked, Blue Valley, is what Feng Yongzhang said true? Lan Gu slowly stood up, walked to the center and knelt down. My emperor, it was my order, but I thought that Mu Ran had betrayed me, so I gave the order. Yi Hua took a look at Mu Ran who was at the side, then said, Family members shouldn't be implicated, you all should be able to understand this logic, right? We know our wrongs. The two quickly admitted their wrongs. Yi Hua asked faintly, Mu Ran, what do you think we should do about this matter? After all, they are also considered to be your enemies. Mu Ran slowly closed her eyes. Her family appeared in her mind. Tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. When she opened them again, there was no pity in her eyes. Kill. Hearing Mu Ran's words, Yi Hua felt a bit gratified. If I were to let this matter go, then, Yi Hua nodded his head, seemingly approving of the proposal. Just when Feng Yongzhang who was kneeling on the ground wanted to plead for leniency, he felt a chill on his neck. Stretching out his hand to touch his neck, he saw that it was all blood, then, the entire head rolled down. Without the head, blood gushed out like a fountain. Everyone present was dumbfounded. They didn't even know who did it. However, Lan Gu, who was kneeling by the side, was the same. His body was covered in blood, but he had no idea who had killed Feng Yongzhang. A bad premonition erupted within Lan Gu's heart. He saw Lan Gu unleash all of his strength at the peak of the Do Huang class. Give me your life. Lan Gu knew that if the emperor did not die, he would die. He would rather cut off all means of retreat. Lan Gu's entire body transformed into a sharp golden sword. Instantly, it shone brightly, and a terrifying sword chi filled the palace. Seeing this scene, Song Feang sighed in his heart. Was this the peak of a Do Huang? So powerful. As expected of the sect master of the Tianliang sect. Awesome. As for Yu Wenba, his eyes were also filled with surprise. He did not expect the sovereign to have mastered the human sword transformation technique. Even a Do Zong would have to be careful of this move. A terrifying pressure was emitting out from the palace, and the huge pressure was heading towards Yi Hua. However, Yi Hua didn't put it in his eyes and continued to eat. This kind of pressure was no different from cotton. Roar! 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 Four dragon roars suddenly rang out, causing everyone's ears to ring. The divine dragons surrounding the red pillars suddenly appeared. The four mystical dragons opened their bloody mouths and bit down on the long sword in the air. The long sword was instantly torn apart, but the mystical dragons did not seem to mind at all. They swallowed it all and then continued to merge into the pillar as if it had never appeared. A few silver threads fell from the sky. The entire process didn't even take 10 seconds, but it was definitely memorable for a lifetime. Four divine dragons appeared. Lan Gu, who was at the peak of the Do Huang class, was bitten into pieces. No. In that instant, he already possessed the strength of a Do Zong. However, so what if he was a Do Zong? In the end, only a few strands of hair remained. No one dared to speak. They finally saw the emperor's strength. The divine dragon was just a decoration. F***ck. How the F***ck could anyone live like this? Right now, the two elders of Tianliang sect were frightened. Just now, the sect leader tried to kill the emperor. Therefore, Yuan Gang and Qi Lu hurriedly knelt in the middle. Your Majesty, spare our lives. We don't know anything. Yi Hua ignored them and looked towards Mu Ran, who was grieving. Mu Ran, my condolences. Hearing the emperor's consolation, Mu Ran couldn't take it anymore. Her strong appearance collapsed and she cried bitterly on the table. After all, Mu Ran wasn't even 20 years old yet. How could she possibly endure such a blow? I lost my parents in an instant. Yi Hua sighed slightly. Luckily, I don't have parents. After a long while, Mu Ran stabilized herself and said with a sobbing tone, Your Majesty, please allow Mu Ran to leave first. All right, go back and rest for a while. Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. Mu Ran knelt respectfully, then turned around and walked out of the palace hall. The main culprit had already been punished, so there wasn't much to say. Yi Hua looked at the two people who were kneeling and said faintly, What are the two of you called? Your Majesty. This lowly one is called Yuan Gang. Your Majesty. This lowly one is called Qi Lu. Yi Hua said faintly, Yuan Gang, in the future, you will be the sect leader of Tianliang sect, and Qi Lu, you will be the emperor of Guda Principality. Hearing that the emperor didn't pursue the matter, the two were elated. Thank you, Your Majesty. Long live Your Majesty. Long live Your Majesty. The two hurriedly thanked Yi Hua. This is truly a wise ruler, a great person. After that, nothing else happened. After the few of them finished eating, they left the palace and rested for the night in the tavern outside. Tomorrow, they would return to their own territory. Yi Hua also went to find Qing Yutong to have some fun. Qing Yutong felt that she was going to be played by her brother-in-law. In Mu Ran's bedroom, Zhang Konghong stood at the entrance of the bedroom. Hearing Mu Ran's cries ringing out from inside, Zhang Konghong felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Should I go in and comfort Mu Ran? I heard that Mu Ran's parents were all killed. Although the enemy is already dead, Mu Ran's parents won't be able to come back to life. Just as Zhang Konghong was pondering, Tang Wei walked in. Tang Wei had also heard about this matter, so she specially came over to take a look at Mu Ran's situation. Looking at Zhang Konghong, who was standing foolishly outside of the bedroom, Tang Wei wished that she could knock on Zhang Konghong's head. What are you still standing outside for? Quickly go in and comfort Mu Ran. Tang Wei pulled Zhang Konghong to the side and said in a low voice. Zhang Konghong did not say anything. You've already missed out on Yu Hua. Don't tell me you want to miss out on Mu Ran as well. Do you really want to see Mu Ran marry someone else? Tang Wei mercilessly attacked Zhang Konghong. Zhang Konghong clenched her fists tightly when she heard Tang Wei's words. Do I have to see Mu Ran get married? And then go through that pain again? Tang Wei looked at Firmament Red. She was exasperated that Firmament Red did not live up to her expectations. She snorted coldly and left first. She would come back to see Mu Ran tomorrow. Zhang Konghong stood where she was for a long time. She looked at the door, mustered her courage, and walked up. Zhang Konghong gently pushed open the wooden door. She saw Mu Ran lying on the bed and crying. She felt terrible when she heard her crying. Zhang Konghong slowly walked forward and sat on the edge of the bed. Looking at that petite figure moving slightly, she reached out and patted it lightly. Mu Ran turned around to look at Blue Sky Hong. She pounced on her and cried even harder. Zhang Konghong heaved a sigh of relief. She gently hugged Mu Ran and stroked her back. The two of them didn't say anything. They seemed to understand each other. After a long time, Mu Ran got tired of crying and fell asleep within Zhang Konghong's embrace. Zhang Konghong lightly placed Mu Ran on the bed and covered her with the blanket. Afterward, she stood at the side and continued to protect Mu Ran. Meanwhile, Yi Hua was currently in the middle of a meeting. This was a family meeting that was held by Qingya. There were a total of 4 people, Yi Hua and his 3 wives. The main topic of the meeting was regarding Yi Hua's domestic violence against Qing Yutong. Chapter 795. Yi Hua glared at Qing Yutong fiercely, seemingly asking, "What are you doing this time? You are clearly saying that you are having fun every day, and now, you are doing such a thing. I really want to ruthlessly slap you." Qing Yutong hid behind her big sister and stuck out her tongue. "You bully me every night, I will bully you tonight." Yi Hua knew about Qing Yutong's mischievousness, so he played along with her. "Yi Hua, don't bully Yutong all the time, Yutong is not a robot, she won't be able to withstand you doing that every night," Qing Ye said helplessly. Her little sister had already complained to her a few times, but Qing Ye felt that her little sister was just showing off, so, don't blame big sister for tricking you. Dong Huang Baiji also smiled. "Yi Hua, Yutong is still young, and she had just experienced such a thing, let her rest for a while." Qing Yutong hid behind her two big sisters and nodded her head. "What Dong Huang Baiji said is right." Yi Hua suddenly laughed. "You two have also been through this together, so you two should know my habits. Furthermore, don't be tricked by Yutong, she always says that she is having fun every time." Yi Hua felt that it was funny when he thought about that scene. Qing Yutong's face turned red. "How is that possible, brother-in-law? Don't speak nonsense. Who is having fun? It is so painful." "Oh right, Yutong even asked whether big sister is having fun or she is having fun, whether big sister Baiji is as strong as me. I didn't even say anything, and she already started showing off, saying that I am the strongest, the most important." "Qing Ye, Dong Huang Baiji, brother-in-law, don't speak nonsense, big sister Baiji, don't believe him, I definitely didn't say such a thing," Qing Yutong hurriedly explained. "Brother-in-law is too bad, when did he say that? He was just vaguely saying it." Qing Ye and Dong Huang Baiji could be seen immediately grabbing onto Qing Yutong and pushing her into Yi Hua's embrace. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly, "Yi Hua, make do with it first. And, if you break it, we will exchange it for a new one," Qing Ye said gravely. "This little fellow is quite showing off." Hearing this, Yi Hua immediately laughed. "Exchanging the old for a new one, this is not bad." Hearing this, Yi Hua immediately laughed. "Yi Hua, help me teach her a lesson, let her know the consequences of showing off." Qing Ye said tenderly, "Yi Hua, help me teach her a lesson, let her know the consequences of showing off." "All right, leave it to me." After finished speaking, Qing Ye and Dong Huang Baiji went to accompany the children. Seeing that the children were about to leave, as a mother, Dong Huang Baiji became even more sad. When the door was closed, Qing Yutong's expression instantly changed. "Brother-in-law, I know my mistake, hee. Do you think that it will be fine just by admitting your mistake?" Yi Hua said coldly. "To actually dare to do this, you sure have guts." "Brother-in-law, sniff, 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 I beg for mercy." Qing Yutong rubbed against Yi Hua's chest with all her might, just like a little kitten. Yi Hua held on to Qing Yutong's exceptionally beautiful face and said lightly, "Yutong, tonight, let's change to another place, this can be considered as your punishment." "Change to another place?" Qing Yutong didn't react in time, but when she saw Yi Hua's evil smile, her entire person didn't feel good. "No. No. Don't." Qing Yutong hurriedly ran away, but Yi Hua directly carried her on his shoulder. Qing Yutong hurriedly begged for forgiveness. "Brother-in-law, I really can't, I will die." "How would we know if we don't try?" Yi Hua laughed evilly. "Qing Ye and Dong Huang Baiji don't dare to try, but this Qing Yutong, her guts are too big, how can I not teach her a lesson? Brother-in-law, in the future, I promise that I will be obedient and listen to everything you say, okay?" Qing Yutong was about to cry. "If I knew that it would be like this, I wouldn't have taken revenge on Yi Hua. Even if you shout till your throat breaks, no one will come and save you. Big sister. Big sister. Save me, your husband is going to kill your little sister." Qing Yutong shouted loudly for help. Yi Hua directly threw Qing Yutong onto the big bed, and Qing Yutong was just like a frightened little rabbit, hugging onto the quilt and hiding at a corner, with a look that said, "Do you want to come over or not?" Looking at Qing Yutong's appearance, Yi Hua's fighting spirit was aroused even more. The next day, Yihua walked out of the bedroom feeling refreshed, indicating that he had already completed Qing Ye's task, and that Qing Yutong would not be able to get off the bed for the next few days. Meanwhile, Qing Yutong, who was sleeping on the bed, had a gloomy look on her face. Brother-in-law is simply shameless, ouch, so painful, but it still feels rather good. The days passed by day after day. Looking at the streets that were getting more and more prosperous day by day, Yihua felt gratified in his heart. The population is finally increasing, and the business development is also getting better. This is a good start. Even the housing prices have increased by tens of times. Yihua couldn't help but sigh with emotion. There are people who speculate in real estate everywhere. As for that sect and the 3 countries, everything was quiet. This northern Liang can be considered to be under my control, and I don't plan to bother about those small fries. The next task that I will be doing is to focus on the children. After all, the children were going to be going on a mission soon, and Yihua could tell that Qing Ye and Dong Huang Baiji were very reluctant to part with the children. After sending the children off, Yihua decided to bring his 3 wives out to relax, and at the same time, inspect Aluo River. Speaking of Aluo River, Yihua only saw it from a history book, and it was just a map. Northern Liang was the northernmost place, and below Northern Liang was Aluo River. It was unknown where Aluo River's water flowed to, but according to the rumors, Aluo River's water possessed a huge corrosive power, and a person who touches it would instantly be corroded. Therefore, Aluo River's water was also known as soul water, and no one dared to touch it. However, around Aluo River, people worshipped the river god, and Aluo River was also a symbol of power. In the area around Aluo River, there were a lot of powerful sects and countries. Compared to Northern Liang, that place was just like a provincial city, and Northern Liang was just like a small village. Among the sects, there were 2 that were the most powerful. One was 3 Absolute Palace, and the other was Ren King Prison. Yihua had not seen how they looked like, but after sending the children off, I will bring my wives out to relax. Right now, Yihua was sitting in the children's palace, and he was thinking about some problems. During these few days, Qing Ye and Dong Huang Baiji had been carrying the children, and they had been repeatedly reminding Yihua and showing all kinds of worries. Yihua, where do you want to send Yan, and Lu, to study? Qing Ye asked curiously while carrying the children. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows, then said gravely, in the south of Kangluo continent, there are 2 powerful sections. One is called Broken Vein Mountain, and the other is called Shin Academy. The Mountain Master and Dean are both overlords. These 2 sects are very strict when it comes to the selection of disciples. 3 days later, Broken Vein Mountain and Shin Academy will be recruiting disciples. After sending Yan, and Lu, to Broken Vein Mountain, we will have to go to Shin Academy. Time is a bit tight. The reason why Yihua arranged the children like this, on one hand, was to strengthen their relationship with each other, and on the other hand, it was because Dong Huangli and Yi Yan are too good sometimes, and they don't have the heart to be decisive. Meanwhile, God Yi and Yi Lu weren't worried at all. Thus, the reason why Yihua separated God Yi and Yi Lu from each other was to let them repeatedly remind their big sister and big brother that it's okay to be kind, but being too kind would only bring harm to oneself. End of this chapter. Chapter 796. The 4 children were very excited when they heard about the place they were about to go. After all, there were warlike cells in their blood. When they thought about how they were about to leave the protection of their parents and be able to show off their skills, they were a little excited. Not only did Yihua want the children to learn, he also wanted the children to go to places where people's hearts were complicated. Putting it into practice was the best way to do it. Will it be dangerous? Qing Ye asked gravely. Although Dong Huang Baiji did not ask, her gaze was filled with worry. Don't worry, as long as they go in, their safety is guaranteed. After all, those 2 forces are in the south, and they are the strongest in the Kangluo continent. No one dares to provoke them. Yihua's words gave the 2 wives a shot of confidence. As long as the child can be safe, everything will be fine. We will depart 3 days later. At that time, Baiji and I will go and send Ali and God Yi off. Qingya, you and Yutong will go and send Yi Yan and Yi Lu off. Let's split up. If not, we won't be able to make it in time. After all, we only have 1 day. Yi Hua said faintly. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji nodded their heads and listened to their husband's arrangements. During these 3 days, Yi Hua, Qingya, and Donghuang Baiji accompanied the children to play. This time, when the children went out, they would no longer be able to accompany them in their so-called childhood. What was waiting for them was a life of study. It was a bright and sunny day, and the blizzard had stopped. The 4 little fellows had already finished their preparations. They didn't bring any heavy baggage, and they didn't bring anything. Yi Hua, who was standing at the side, felt very reluctant in his heart, but he did not show it. However, the eyes of his 3 women were all swollen from crying, and even Qing Yutong was the same. After all, Qing Yutong had also watched the children grow up, and right now, the children were about to leave just like that, and Qing Yutong was very reluctant to part with them. Although the 4 children were given birth by Qingya and Donghuang Baiji separately, in their eyes, there was no difference between them. All of them would call Donghuang Baiji and Donghuang Baiji. Just look at how Qingya is crying while hugging onto Donghuang Li. Donghuang Baiji hugged onto Yi Yan and cried loudly. Donghuang Baiji looked as if she was going to be separated by life and death. Yi Hua didn't really like this kind of scene. Thus, he slowly walked to the side and looked far away. As a man, Yi Hua hid his weak side very well. After all, these were all his own flesh and blood, who wouldn't feel heartache for them? Making this kind of decision, I am also very sad, but I have no choice but to do it. Brother, Yi Lu called out softly. God Yi looked at his sister and smiled. What's wrong? Lu, The next time we meet, we will be opponents. I hope big brother won't disappoint little sister. God Yi knew what Yi Lu meant. There would be a competition between Meridian Break Sect and Shin Institution, and it was a competition between the disciples with the most potential. God Yi and Yi Lu were very confident, so they would meet as opponents. However, by that time, they should have already grown up. Luer, I won't go easy on you. God Yi chuckled. He was looking forward to competing with his sister. As for the others, forget it then. None of us are a match for him. Alright, it's a deal. Yi Lu walked forward after saying that and hugged God Yi gently. The corner of God Ye's mouth curled up into a smile. He hugged his sister tightly and said slowly, I'm not by your side. Take good care of yourself. Yes, you too, brother, Yi Lu said in a low voice. The brother and sister had been together for 5 years. Although they weren't blood-related, they felt closer to each other than blood-related. Now that they were going to be separated, they were naturally reluctant. This is only the relationship between brother and sister. Donghuang Li was also hugging her little brother, Yi Yan. Yan, in the future, big sister won't be able to bring you along to act cool anymore. After I bring you along, you have to properly act cool by yourself, don't embarrass big sister. Donghuang Li said attentively. Yi Yan's nose was a bit sour. After I was born, I have been following my big sister around. Even my parents didn't spend as much time with my big sister, and now, I am going to be separated. Daddy, Mommy, can Yan, cry? Yi Yan asked weakly. Hearing that, Yi Hua let out a breath, I can. Yi Yan immediately started crying loudly in Donghuang Li's embrace. Even God Yi and Yi Lu were letting out soft sobbing sounds. Yi Hua's 3 wives were also sobbing silently. Only Yi Hua was quietly watching on, and his mood was a bit bad. Looking at the time, it's about time. Alright, let's go our separate ways. Yi Hua walked forward and said gravely. Daddy, hug. The 4 children stretched out their hands and looked at their father with longing. Looking at his adorable children, no matter how strong Yi Hua was right now, his eyes couldn't help but become a bit moist. Slightly squatting down, Yihua carried the 4 children into his embrace and said attentively, "Study properly, Daddy and Mommy are proud of you all." Daddy, we understand." Yihua nodded his head, and his gaze became firm once again. "Qingya, Yutong, let's go our separate ways." Qingya nodded her head. The 4 children gradually separated from each other. The separation now was for the reunion in the future. Carrying reluctance, the 4 children disappeared from where they were standing. Broken Vein Sect was located at the south of Kangluo continent. Broken Vein Sect was formed by endless mountain ranges. However, there were faults in between the mountain ranges, which was why it was called Broken Vein Sect. In actuality, Broken Vein Sect was more like a big country. The area that it occupied was very big, and it was even bigger than the entire northern Liang. Broken Vein Sect was divided into 2 sections. The main sect was naturally the true Broken Vein Sect, and the secondary sect was naturally much worse than the main sect. However, the disciples of the secondary sect would still try their best to enter the main sect. Within these broken veins, every mountain range had its own name, and the mountain range that Yihua and Donghuang Baizhi came to was called Jade Vein. Jade Vein was below the secondary sect, and only disciples with extremely high talent could enter the secondary sect, and the secondary sect would then select disciples to enter the main sect. Yihua hoped that the children would be able to train themselves at the lowest level. At the foot of Jade Vein Mountain. Wow, there are so many people. Dong Huangli gradually got rid of the sadness of parting and looked at the things in front of her. The foot of Jade Vein Mountain wasn't as luxurious as she imagined it to be, it was just an ordinary small village. However, this small village was already packed with people. All of them had brought their children here because they heard of Jade Vein Mountain's fame. There were royalty and nobles, and there were also ordinary commoners. Meanwhile, those 4 and 5 years old children were all very confused and even a bit scared. How could they be as calm as Donghuang Li and God Yi? "Ah Li, don't run around." Yihua shouted out. Oh, Yihua held on to Donghuang Baizhi's delicate hand, and Donghuang Baizhi held on to her son God Yi. Donghuang Li walked over and held on to her father's hand. "The next time I see my father, I will have already grown up. Thinking about it, I am really looking forward to it." The appearance of this family of 4 immediately attracted everyone's attention. Especially that woman. How can there be such a beautiful woman in this world? Perhaps it was because of the reluctance that Donghuang Baizhi revealed that made people feel even more heartbroken, as if they were suffering from domestic violence. Yihua first took the number plate, then followed the group up the mountain. From time to time, parents could be seen bringing their children down the mountain. Every single child would be crying for their parents. This time, Jade Vein's recruitment is different from before. What's going on? Why is it different? I heard that the combat disciple will personally test the recruitment. End of chapter. Chapter 797. What? Fighting disciple. Our child is still so young. That's right. What kind of rules are these? They're simply fooling around. Hearing the discussions at the side, Yihua knew that there was a benefit to choosing a student this way. The main point was not to look at the student's ability to win against a fighter, but rather, it was to look at the student's talent. Yihua said in a low voice, "Ali, God Yi, please restrain yourself later." "Yes, I know, Dad." Although Yihua's voice was very soft, it was still heard by the people in front and behind him. At the same time, he thought to himself, this person really knows how to act tough. To ask such a young child to show mercy, it would be good if other Do fighters showed mercy. Dong Huangli was still very interested. However, God Yi, who was at the side, had a stern look on his face. He wasn't interested at all, he's too weak. Only a Do disciple. Playing with a Do zone was fine. Seeing that Donghuang Baizhi was unhappy, Yihua lightly kissed onto his wife's cheek. "All right, don't be too sad." Yihua's movements seemed very normal. But in the eyes of these people, it was different. In the Kangluo continent, it was no different from the ancient times. It was a complete loss of morals. Furthermore, you kissed such a beautiful woman in front of us. This was intolerable. Even if she's your wife, you can't act like this. If this wasn't the foot of the Jade Mountain, I would definitely kill him. I hate men who put on airs like this the most. So what if you have a beautiful wife? Look at how cocky he is. I want to stamp a shoe on his face. Ah Li, Donghuang Baiji called out gently. Mom. Donghuang Li stretched out her hand and held onto her mother's hand. Yihua shook his head. Seems like Donghuang Baiji is a little angry. The speed of the procession was very fast, and so were the people going down the mountain. Most of them were bringing their children down the mountain. It seemed that the proportion was very high. Gradually, Yihua finally arrived at the platform in front of the Jade Vein Peak. Behind the platform was a huge signboard. Jade Vein Peak. The three large words carried with them a powerful pressure. With one look, one could tell that it was not an ordinary item. It must have been written by an expert. As long as they could step through the gates of Jade Vein Peak, they would bring honor to their ancestors. At least, that was what everyone thought. There were three old men sitting on the high platform, silently watching the scene. In the field, a 10-year-old child was competing with a 5-year-old child who was a bit shorter. To be precise, it wasn't a contest. Before the fight even started, the 5-year-old child was scared to tears. Then it was the next one. The strength of a Do disciple standing in front of the children was very frightening. This was reasonable, but the requirements to enter the sect were indeed much higher. In the past, it was only a test of talent. Yihua looked at the children who were crying and leaving one by one, then shook his head. I'm afraid that I won't be able to receive more than a few children in a day, right? Very soon, they arrived at Yihua's house. Which one of you wants to go first? Yihua asked lightly. His calm demeanor made people feel that his child could easily win. Why would he ask who would go first? His opponent was a 10-year-old fighter. It was terrifying. Sis, you go first, Godyi said calmly. Dong Huangli spread out her hands. All right, big sister will give you an example. Everyone, this girl was quite pretty, but why did she like to brag? Even the three old men sitting on the high platform paused for a moment. This girl was a little interesting. They didn't know if she had any real skills or not. Dong Huangli directly walked towards the platform and looked at the boy who was in front of her. While looking at Dong Huangli, the young man's face was a bit red. What a beautiful girl, it seems like in the entire Jade Vein Peak, there isn't another girl like her. She is even more beautiful than a celebrity. That's right. The 10-year-old genius fighter, Mu Gao, was someone who had been reborn. His golden finger was unknown. Dong Huangli sized up the boy in front of her, then said faintly, "Come on, don't look at me like an idiot, no matter how much you look at me, I won't be yours." Mu Gao, hearing Dong Huangli's words, Dong Huangli felt that Dong Huangli was really hot. Dong Huangli, I can't afford to offend her. This girl isn't bad. She isn't afraid in front of Mu Gao, said an old man on the platform. Yeah, looks like he's quite something. Actually, you just have to look at your parents to know whether or not you have any material. The three elders nodded their heads. From Yihua and Donghuang Baiji's looks, it can be seen that this girl is definitely someone with great potential. Mu Gao cupped his hands towards Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli had no choice but to follow Mu Gao and cupped her hands towards Mu Gao. Be careful. Mu Gao said in a deep voice. Dong Huangli laughed lightly. The one who should be careful should be you. Right after Dong Huangli finished speaking, Dong Huangli's delicate body disappeared. Afterward, Mu Gao felt a stifling sound coming from his chest, and he was forced to take a few steps back. The entire audience became deathly silent. This girl, actually pushed down a fighter. How is this possible? The three elders on the viewing platform suddenly stood up and mumbled, "This girl actually has the strength of a fighter. How is this possible? In the entire Kangluo continent, such a thing has never happened before." However, such a thing happened in front of their eyes. This made the three elders feel as if they were dreaming. Mu Gao looked at Dong Huangli, who was on the stage blankly and was a bit absent-minded. "I actually lost to a girl, she is so formidable." Yi Hua shook his head and told Ali to keep a low profile, but in the end, just who did she learn from? She just likes to act cool. "God Yi, don't learn from your sister," Yi Hua warned. "Alright. Dong Huangli. Pass." Along with an elder's announcement, Dong Huangli could be considered to have passed. Dong Huangli bowed towards the surrounding audience and thanked them. "This is too easy, so boring. If only Yen was here, I would be able to act cool together with my big sister, I would be so happy." An elder could be seen walking over and said with a smile, "The two of you must be Dong Huangli's parents, right?" Yi Hua nodded his head. Dong Huang Baiji held onto her daughter's hand with a look of reluctance on her face. "The two of you can be at ease, we have a family visit day every year, and you can come into the sect to see your child. You don't have to worry about your safety, no one will dare to cause trouble in Meridian Break sect." After hearing that, Dong Huang Baiji became happy, then said in a low voice, "I will leave my child in your hands then. Don't worry, Dong Huangli is a good seedling, we will definitely focus on nurturing her." The elder said with a slight smile. He felt that Dong Huangli would definitely enter the sect in the future. "Little brother, what are you still standing there for, go." Dong Huangli looked at God Yi and shouted out. The elder immediately became confused, "You want your son as well?" "That's right," Yi Hua said faintly. Looking at God Yi, the elder felt that this child is probably only around 5 years old, right? This is his big sister, it seems like his little brother won't be too far off either. Jade Meridian Peak's luck is pretty good today, to be able to find 2 rising stars. However, I still have to give it a try first. God Ye's expression remained unchanged as he walked onto the stage. Mu Gao stabilized the aura within his body, then walked onto the stage at the same time. However, God Yi did not feel anything at all. This action of God Yi caused everyone to be stupefied. The big sister is so formidable, but why is the little brother so monstrous as well? The expressions of the 3 elders immediately became strange. This was a kind of shock. End of this chapter. Chapter 798. Because God Yi was only 5 years old. A 5-year-old was actually able to face the aura released by a fighter. Never seen before. In fact, the 3 elders just wanted to see how long the child could last under the aura of a fighter before accepting him. Mu Gao's gaze gradually became serious. This boy who is half my age is very powerful. Although I don't know how powerful he is, Mu Gao feels that he is very powerful. Admit defeat, you are not my opponent. God Yi said faintly. Dong Huangli was stunned, since when did my own younger brother learn to act so pretentiously? He is even more powerful than Yen. Dong Huang Baiji said, "Look, the children are all learning from you." Yi Hua was speechless. When everyone heard God Ye's words, they were all confused. The older sister is powerful, but the younger brother is also powerful. Could it be that everyone in this family was awesome? Will you die if you don't brag? Mu Gao felt that he was an expert, the youngest expert in the entire Jade Vein Peak. Although he is that big sister's younger brother, it is time for him to show his strength. The one who should admit defeat is you. Watch my fist. Mu Gao roared. The aura of a fighter exploded, raising a cloud of dust. However, God Yi looked at Mu Gao coldly. You don't know what's good for you. God Yi took a step forward and shouted. Boom! The aura of a fighter exploded, and Mu Gao, who was rushing over, was instantly blown away, knocked onto the stairs, and fainted. At that moment, the entire jade vein peak was silent. Yihua shook his head. Dong Huang Baiji stretched out her hand and pinched her husband. Look at what you have taught the children. Dong Huangli felt that there was hope. I didn't expect that Ice Brother also likes to act cool. It can't be helped, acting cool is hereditary. The three elders on the viewing platform didn't know what to say. A 5-year-old fighter. Am I blind or what? Did you pass? God Yi raised his head and asked faintly. One of the elders immediately said, passed. Passed. The people who were waiting in the queue couldn't believe it. This pair of siblings both passed, so powerful. God Yi slowly walked back, as if it was just a small matter. Yihua patted his son's head. This little fellow really opened my eyes today. Dong Huangli stood beside her brother and said, God Yi. Big sister, what is it? God Yi asked softly, his tone was much gentler. In the future, big sister will bring you along to act cool. Dong Huangli said with a smile. God Yi said helplessly, sister, I don't like to act cool. I don't know what acting cool is either. Dong Huangli stared blankly at her younger brother. Your pretentiousness has reached such a level that even big sister can't compare to you. Yihua and Dong Huang Baiji both laughed. What God Yi said isn't wrong at all. You have to listen to me. There's no room for negotiation. Sis. God Yi knew it would be like this. It was a real headache, but he still had to listen to his sister's words. Dong Huang Baiji squatted down and lightly hugged the children. Mommy won't be by your side, you two have to take care of each other, do you understand? God Yi, you have to protect your sister. Ali, you too. Don't let your brother be bullied. Yes, Mom and Dad, don't worry. I will definitely protect my little brother. I will protect my sister as well. Yihua nodded his head. This is my good child, go on, study well. Dong Huangli held onto God Ye's hand, then waved towards her parents, Dad, Mom, Ali will miss you too. I will miss Dad and Mom too. Yihua and Dong Huang Baiji sent off the children with their eyes as they walked into the Jade Vein Peak. Dong Huang Baiji immediately snuggled into Yihua's embrace and started crying. All of the parents present were able to understand Dong Huang Baiji's feelings. Yihua comforted Dong Huang Baiji lightly, then let out a light sigh. After supporting Dong Huang Baiji down the mountain, they went to a place where there was no one around and disappeared. Yihua was preparing to go and see how Qingya was doing. The deity institution was different from Broken Meridian sect. The deity institution was located in Minglan communal country, and it was the most unique existence in the entire Kangluo continent. However, the Radiant Mist communal country was also the largest country in the entire Kangluo continent. Yihua sent a message to Qingya, and after knowing that the exam was still going on, he decided to bring the pitiful Dong Huang Baiji over. Baiji, don't cry. Look at the surrounding people's gazes, it seems like I am bullying you. Yihua felt dizzy. You still haven't bullied me. Yihua, woo-woo. Dong Huang Baiji lightly pounded on Yihua's chest, as if she was massaging him. Yihua said tenderly, all right, my darling, I beg you, can you do it? Woo-woo, you can call me little fairy then. Yihua, Baiji, you are already the mother of 2 children, and you still want to call me little fairy? Are you trying to make me laugh to death? Yihua was truly amused by his wife. Little fairy, ha ha ha, this is too funny. Seeing that her husband was actually laughing at her, Dong Huang Baiji snorted, then walked forward by herself. Upon seeing that, Yihua immediately pulled his wife into his embrace. Little fairy, don't be angry anymore, alright? I don't want to talk to you anymore. Dong Huang Baiji said angrily. Seeing that his wife's mood became a lot better, Yihua became slightly relieved. Looking at the surrounding buildings, he asked, do you think our territory is better or this place? Dong Huang Baiji gradually calmed down and said tenderly, this place is filled with a simple and unadorned aura. Our territory is just like a newborn that lacks time to sink. Yi Hua nodded his head. Some things cannot be settled with money, they need to be polished with time. Very quickly, the husband and wife arrived at the recruitment location. Brother-in-law, over here. Qing Yutong could be seen standing at the entrance and waving her hand as she shouted. Looking at the lively Qing Yutong, Yi Hua directly held onto her little hand, then walked into the examination hall of Deity Academy. Outside the examination hall, there were many parents who were waiting anxiously. Qing Ye. Yi Hua immediately saw Qing Ye, who was waiting anxiously. Yi Hua. Qing Ye hurriedly walked over and lightly snuggled into her husband's embrace. The surrounding men seemed to be about to spit fire. Just now, I felt that it was strange, why aren't there any men beside those two beauties, but there are children beside them. Look at this. This man is holding onto one with each hand, and he is even hugging onto another. If this isn't showing off, then what is he doing? I have never seen such a shameless person, to actually have 3 such beautiful wives, this is simply illogical. Yi Hua asked lightly, where are Yan, and Lu, They have already entered the examination hall. Qing Ye said lightly. Qing Ye was very nervous in her heart, not knowing if her children would be able to pass the examination. Brother-in-law, have Ali and God Yi passed the examination? Qing Yutong asked curiously. And, they have all passed the examination, so we came over rather quickly. Yi Hua said. Dong Huang Baiji asked curiously, over there, they are competing in martial strength, what is Qing Ye competing in here? Qing Ye said worriedly, I heard from them that they seem to be competing in willpower, but I don't know what it is. All of them have entered a small room by themselves, and their results will be displayed on the stone tablet. End of this chapter. Chapter 799. Yi Hua looked towards the stone tablet. On the stone tablet, there were around 100 names, but Yi Yan and Yi Lu's names were nowhere to be seen. Qing Ye, don't worry. Yi Hua consoled. Who knew that Qing Ye would say angrily, these 2 little fellows, if they don't get a good result today, see how I'm going to take care of them. It's not even on the list yet. Qing Yutong spread out her hands. Big sister is not worried about the separation at all, rather, she is worried about the children not doing well in the exam. Yi Hua thought that Qing Ye was feeling sad, but who would have thought that she was actually worried about her results? All of Baiji's children had passed the exam. If her children failed, it would be so shameful. It would be strange if Qing Ye wasn't anxious. Qing Ye, don't be anxious. Yan, and Lu, are so smart, they will definitely be able to pass the exam. Dong Huang Baiji walked up and consoled Qing Ye. Yi Hua straightforwardly leaned on the side and carried Qing Yutong into his embrace. He wasn't worried about his own child in the slightest. They are definitely pondering over this matter, and I will be able to see the results in a while. However, Yi Hua's actions once again caused the men to spit out fire. He is actually hugging one of his wives and leaning on the side, while the other 2 wives are talking. I have seen dissolute men before, but I have never seen such a dissolute man before. How did these beauties fall for this kind of man? Suddenly, the black stone tablet flashed, and the golden words slowly shifted. Qing Ye stared fixedly at the stone tablet while grabbing onto Dong Huang Baiji's hand. Looking at Dong Huang Baiji's expression, it seems like Dong Huang Baiji's hand is in pain. They're out. We're out. Qing Ye shouted excitedly. He's out. This sentence is so confusing. Yi Hua looked towards the steel. Right now, Yi Yan and Yi Lu appeared at the lowest position of the steel. As long as their names appeared on the stone tablet, they would be accepted. This was only the beginning. Yi Yan's and Yi Lu's names suddenly rose like a rocket. Ah, my Yan, and Lu, good job. Qing Ye shouted out excitedly. Actually, this was also Yi Yan and Yi Lu's first time taking an exam, so it was normal for Qing Ye to have such a reaction. In the blink of an eye, Yi Yan and Yi Lu's names appeared at the top. The first and second place were occupied by the 2 little fellows. However, the crowd discovered that the first and second place alternated, as if they were fighting for the first place. Dong Huang Baiji could be heard saying lightly, Yen, is pretty good. You play with Ali every day, but I didn't expect that your martial arts didn't fall behind in the slightest. After hearing what Yihua said, a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth. Could it be that my child would be bad? My child is born to be a cheat, there is no need for any explanation. When everyone saw that the first two were both surnamed Yi, they were all very surprised. The third place could not be shaken at all. Was the steel broken? After a long time, the infernal judge finally appeared. The examination has ended. Yi Yan's name was at the top, and Yi Lu was second. The two little fellows appeared very quickly. Yi Yan had a confident smile on his face, while Yi Lu seemed very normal, with a cold and arrogant aura. He did not feel much about the second place result. It was normal for his brother to be stronger than him. Lu, Yi Yan called out with a smile. Yi Lu called out obediently, brother. Yi Yan patted his sister's shoulder. In the future, I'll protect you and bring you along to show off. Brother, Luer knows how to act tough herself. Yi Yan, how can I do that? When we are outside, the eldest brother is like a father, you have to listen to me. Yi Yan held onto his sister's hand and walked towards his parents with large strides. Yi Lu had a gloomy look on her face. Who asked me to have such a biological brother? I still have to listen to my brother. Daddy, Mommy, Yen, and little sister didn't lose face for you too, right? The two of you are great, Mommy loves the two of you to death. Qingye squatted down and kissed onto the cheeks of the two children. Yihua let go of Qing Yutong and walked over slowly. Yen, Luer, study hard in the future, alright? Daddy, we understand. Sensing that the children were about to leave her, Qingye's expression immediately became bad. Immediately, Qingye hugged onto her children and cried softly. Children who are on the list, please follow me, parents, please stop. The infernal judge shouted out again. Mommy, we have to go. Yi Yan said reluctantly. Qingye let go of her children reluctantly. Take good care of little sister, alright? Mommy, don't worry, Yen will definitely take good care of little sister. After Yi Yan finished speaking, he patted onto Yi Lu's head. Yi Lu said obediently, Mommy, don't worry about us, take good care of yourself. Mommy will miss you too. The two little fellows kissed onto their mother's cheeks, then shouted out towards their father, Daddy, we won't disappoint you. With a smile on his face, Yihua nodded his head, I look forward to your performance. Yi Yan held onto Yi Lu's hand and waved his hand, then left with the infernal judge along with the other children. Seeing that the children had left, Qingye immediately pounced onto Yihua's embrace and cried bitterly, just like how Donghuang Baiji did just now. Big sister, they will be able to take good care of themselves. Qing Yutong consoled Donghuang Baiji in a low voice. However, when Qingye cried like that, Donghuang Baiji also thought of her own children, and thus, she also cried into Yihua's embrace. Meanwhile, Qing Yutong was also infected by the atmosphere and started crying as well. The three beautiful women all leaned onto Yihua's embrace and cried bitterly. Yihua was also very helpless. I didn't want to flaunt, it was them who forced me to flaunt. I, the Supreme Overlord, feel disdain to flaunt my love. Brat, I have long been sick of you. A man could be seen standing out with a righteous expression. Yihua remained silent. As a man, you actually bully a woman? Before the man could finish speaking. The three women in Yihua's embrace could be seen shouting out in unison, what does it have to do with you? I just like to cry, so what if I like to cry? The man went into a daze for a moment, then turned around and left. I can't afford to offend them. Yihua consoled, alright, calm down. Let's go out and take a stroll, alright? Let's go and buy some delicious food, 3 fairies. Qingye hammered Yihua, what fairies, do you think we are little girls? What fairies, I am getting goosebumps just by hearing that. Yihua couldn't help but laugh. Baiji, did you hear that? I am getting goosebumps just by hearing that. Dong Huang Baiji's tears turned into laughter, annoying. So what if you call me fairies? I like being a fairies the most. The husband and wife walked out of the examination hall while laughing. Only by walking out of the examination hall would they be able to relax a bit and not think about their children. The four strolled around Bright Mist communal country for a while, and Yihua was also reminiscing about the past. Back then, I also clamored outside of Bright Mist communal country. I didn't expect that I would have the chance to come in and take a look. Interesting, I wonder if those old friends of mine are doing well. How about we go to Aluo River to play? Yihua said lightly. This was also something that he had planned out beforehand. After sending off the children, it was time for him to do his own things. The three wives were naturally obedient to Yihua. The four found a place with no one around, then instantly arrived at Aluo River. Qing Yutong left Yihua's embrace, then opened up her arms and shouted out, "Wow, the air here is really good." End of chapter. Chapter 800. The four of them stood on a plateau. Not far away from them was the legendary Aluo River. The water surged endlessly. However, a burst of cursing broke this quiet scene. "Brother-in-law, quickly come and look, there are people fighting over there." Qing Yutong was the first to see, and at the side of Aluo River, there was a group of people bullying a person. Qing Ye took a glare at her little sister. "Yutong, why are you still calling brother-in-law, brother-in-law, can't you call husband?" "Big sister, aren't I already used to calling you that, and I can't change it." Qing Yutong pouted her mouth. "I only have this little bit of excitement, and I have to exploit it as well." "You." Qing Ye was angered quite badly. Yihua lightly hugged onto Qing Ye. "All right, Qing Ye, let her do as she pleases." "Are you really going to spoil her like this?" Qing Ye said petulantly. Yihua pinched onto Qing Ye's little butt. "Didn't I spoil you too? The two of you, can you stop acting so flirtatiously? It's still broad daylight." Dong Huang Baiji, who was standing at the back, said. Yihua turned his head around and said with a smile, "Baiji, it's not like we haven't done it before in broad daylight. Brother-in-law, quickly come over." Qing Yutong immediately flew over, and she was truly like a heroine. The three of them shook their heads and followed him at a moderate pace. At the Aluo River, more than 10 youths were chasing a man. "Don't let Wani escape. Today, we're going to throw him into the Aluo River." The young man behind them had an ominous glint in his eyes. It didn't seem like he was joking. The young man running in front was quite handsome, but his handsome face was solemn. "Are you guys sick? All I did was sleep with Oiran Queen. Is there a need to be so inhumane?" Wani bellowed at the people behind him. These were a group of second-generation rich kids from the Azure Dragon Empire. Because Wani had won the bid last night, these people were not convinced, so they tied Wani up in the morning and prepared to throw him into the Aluo River. F***ck. You still have the cheek to say that. Everyone, kill him. Perhaps it was because his body was weak and he was gradually being caught up. However, at this moment, a rainbow light descended from the sky and landed between the two sides. "What if I accidentally fall?" And the 10+ youngsters also stopped their footsteps, then looked at the fairy in front of them dumbfoundedly. "So beautiful. Is this a fairy that has descended to the mortal world?" Qing Yutong stroked her delicate hands and looked at the 10+ youngsters in front of her. "To actually bully a single person, if you have the ability, then fight me one-on-one." Just when Qing Yutong was about to open her mouth to lecture them, the 10+ people in front of her all knelt down with a plop. Qing Yutong was stupefied. "Fairy sister, please accept our worship." More than 10 people stood up and shouted. "Fairy sister." Qing Yutong's expression eased up quite a bit. "At least you two have good eyesight. All of you, get up." Qing Yutong said faintly, and she gave off a very fairy feeling. Thank you, fairy sister. At this moment, Wan Yi also hurriedly crawled up, then kneeled in front of Qing Yutong and cried out, Big sister fairy, save me they are taking advantage of their numbers to beat me up. Bullying with numbers, this is the natural order of things. Qing Yutong said slowly. Wan Yi? Weren't they here to save him? Why? Fairy sister is right. The dozen or so young people were happy when they heard that. It turned out that they were not here to save Wan Yexiao. Qing Yutong said faintly, so, you two can fight one-on-one, I will be the judge. Wan Yi felt that it was better for him to run away, this fairy is here to harm me. At this moment, Yi Hua brought Qing Ye and Dong Huang Baizhi down from the sky. The moment the three of them arrived, they immediately let out a strange aura. Seeing that something was wrong, the dozen or so young people immediately broke into a run, wishing that they could grow another leg in the middle. These women are indeed good-looking, but that man is very fierce. If you want to run away, or even want to call those people back, please bring me along, I beg of you all. Yutong, what are you doing? Yi Hua asked gravely. Yutong is good at everything, just that she likes to play with Yizizi. Qing Yutong pouted her mouth and stood at the side, not saying anything. Qing Ye knocked on her little sister's forehead. Originally, I thought that as a wife, my little sister should be able to calm down a bit, but who knew that it was completely useless, not calm at all, and even act like a child. Only Yi Hua is able to endure it, to be more precise, he is able to cure it. Big brother, can I leave now? Wan Yi asked carefully. These four people don't seem to be easy to mess with. Yi Hua took a look at Wan Yi and felt a bit puzzled. This young man actually has the strength of a de do shi, and just now, he was actually chased by a group of ordinary people. This is a bit interesting, he is even hiding his strength. No. Yi Hua said faintly. Wan Yi immediately put on a long face and asked carefully, Big brother, if you want to rape me, I will definitely refuse. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched. My three wives are all as beautiful as goddesses, and you still want to rape me? Is your brain filled with muddy water from Aluo River? Big brother, I was just joking. Since we are fated to meet today, how about letting me invite big brother and sister-in-law to go sightseeing in the city? Wan Yi said hurriedly, then waited vigilantly. Why didn't Wan Yi run away? Was it because he saw that the heads of the four people were filled with? Just now, Wan Yi felt that the system was broken. For a person to actually dare to have a question mark in his combat strength, could there be a bug in the system? However, after going through the system's verification, all of the functions of the system are normal. This means that the combat strength of the four people in front of me is unable to be determined. What the hell is this? It seemed that the system would not admit that it had an accident, just like how a drunk person would not admit that they were drunk. What if it was also a system? What if it was a plug-in system? It could be leveled up without doing any work. All it had to do was hack. It was a system specially made for lazy people. It would be awesome. I am only 18 years old this year, which means that I am a de do shi. If news of this were to spread, it would definitely shake the entire Kangluo continent. However, if I were to keep a low profile and something were to happen, it would be game over. Just like today, there were suddenly 4 of them. Wasn't that scary? I was so scared that I almost sh*t myself. But at least I got to f*ck myself last night and was even defeated by Hua Kuei. My life wasn't in vain. Alright. Yi Hua said faintly. I'd like to see what kind of trick you're playing. Wan Yi felt as if he had been reborn and hurriedly led the way. Big brother, this is your first time coming to Azure Dragon Empire, right? Wan Yi asked curiously. Yi Hua said faintly, yes. What if I guessed in my heart that this person isn't a spy, right? But even if this person is a spy, I don't have one myself. What a big question. I can't win against him. I can't win against him. Big brother, are you here to play? You talk a lot. Yi Hua said gravely. He still wanted to get more information out of Wan Yi. If Wan Yi didn't speak, he would be afraid of angering this brother. System, please don't deceive me. Yi Hua took a look at his experience bar. Rank 3 de Do Shi, his hack experience bar is already half full. End of this chapter. Chapter 801. As long as I continue to eat and drink, I will be able to become a Do Emperor. Who else can be more awesome than me? This is what is called true wretched development. Fortunately, there is still a carriage. This carriage was brought by Wan Yi, while the others were all riding on horses. Brother ? Please get on the carriage. Wan Yi shouted respectfully. Yi Hua took a look at Wan Yi puzzledly. Brother ? This fellow sure has guts. Yi Hua did not pay attention to him. He first carried his wives onto the carriage, then got on the carriage himself. Outside, the 3 wives became like ordinary people, and being taken care of by Yi Hua, this will give me a kind of blissful feeling. Wan Yi is sitting at the front of the carriage and is currently trying to figure out the 4 question marks on the carriage. Could it be that they also have a system? And are they the early stage? Impossible, I am the main character, how can I possibly meet other main characters, this is too fake. They should be experts that came from other places. That's right. As the main character, they definitely have a strong backer. This should be a welfare agency that allows me to have a good relationship with the big shots. Thinking up to here, Wan Yi calmed down. Treat them well, it will be helpful to me in the future. Being the main character is so annoying, I don't dare to say that I am outstanding. Qing Yutong, who was in the carriage, was currently communicating with her system. Master, I sense that the man in front has a system, but that is a rather outdated system, it belongs to the category of obsolete products. Ah, all obsolete products. Then, what kind of product do you have now? Qing Yutong asked curiously. Thanks to Master, the version of the system that I am currently using is the most advanced, and it is also one of the best in the system world. Then I can be at ease. Qing Yutong was relieved. Master, the current state of your body can still be developed. Master, please continue to stay in the same room with the male master. The system discovered that every time after, Master's body will become more perfect. Go to hell, brother-in-law and I are truly in love with each other, you are making me sound like a bad woman. Qing Yutong snorted in her heart. Master, by absorbing the essence of the male master, you will become more and more beautiful, the system will not lie to you. He, do you think that I will believe you? Qing Yutong said in disdain. However, she was thinking in her heart, ever since I did that with brother-in-law, I feel that my skin has become even better and even more beautiful. This damned beauty was taken advantage of by brother-in-law, master, your achievements are my achievements. Every time there's a new version, there are all kinds of good things. Master hasn't been to the market in a long time, and now everything in the market is free to try out. Although it can't compare to Master's treasures, it's still a rare treasure. Little sister system, I realize that you're especially talkative today. What's the situation? Teacher, please explain. Master, I realize that there are many system users in this world. Some systems can even devour others, so I hope that Master can be careful. Qing Yutong paused for a moment. A lot of system users. The system had never said something like that before. Alright, I got it. Master, absorb more of the male master's essence. Good luck, Scram. Qing Yutong couldn't help but blush. Wasn't it enough during this period of time? Brother-in-law had already played with me all over, he is so naughty. But it was so exciting. After 2 hours, they finally arrived at the Azure Dragon Empire. Big brother, we have reached the outskirts of the city, Wan Yi, who was driving the carriage, shouted. Yi Hua took a look at it. It's just ordinary, there's nothing special about it. Compared to Bright Mist Communal Empire, Azure Dragon Empire is quite lacking. In actuality, Azure Dragon Empire's city wall is also very tall, but compared to Voidless Empire's city wall, Azure Dragon Empire's city wall is still quite a bit shorter. Most importantly, Voidless Empire's city wall is pitch black. Qingye and the others were the same. After seeing Voidless Empire's city wall and seeing this city wall, they completely lost interest. Big brother, we have arrived. Wan Yi greeted carefully. These are 4 great gods, they might be big shots of some power. Yi Hua brought along his wives and carried them down the carriage one by one. This made Wan Yi extremely envious. As the main character, I still haven't gone out to train yet. After I go out to train, I will definitely meet all kinds of beauties. Then, I will become some ancient emperor and dominate the entire world, living a free and unfettered life. Isn't that wonderful? It's so good to have a system, it's so good to have a system, it's a must-have item to walk towards the pinnacle of one's life. Big brother, are you hungry? This Azure Dragon Empire's Hua Man Lu's food is not bad. Wan Yi smiled obsequiously at the side. By smiling obsequiously now, a great future awaits me in the future. This time, Yi Hua didn't just come out to play, he also wanted to take a look at 3 Despair Palace and Benevolent King Prison. Eat and wait, is there anything fun to do there? Yi Hua asked faintly. Speaking of fun, Wan Yi was talking about Grandmaster level. Big brother, are you interested in the sparring field? Wan Yi asked. Sure, let's go and take a look. Yi Hua felt that the sparring field was a place where he could gather information. Big brother, follow me. Yi Hua brought along his 3 wives and walked in the Azure Dragon Empire. The appearance of 3 such beauties instantly spread out. One must know that the appearance of the 3 women was not something that a person from the underworld could have. Just by looking at the 3 women, one would be drunk. Qingye and the others didn't seem to like this kind of feeling. Their appearance was for their husbands to admire, thus, all of them bought a piece of veil and wore it. Even Qing Yutong was the same. After wearing the veil, it added even more of a mysterious beauty to it. Yi Hua really wanted to see what was underneath the veil. Yi Hua had no choice, he just wanted to see the envious eyes of other men. In the end, after his wives wore the veil, it was gone. However, Yi Hua knew what they meant, they were truly thinking for me. Now that I have sent the children away, it is time for me to have a quartet. Just thinking about it makes me a little excited. Yi Hua sighed with emotion. Right now, the person who is able to make me feel excited is actually my wife. Everyone quickly arrived at the martial arts arena. It was almost the size of a football field, but it was a little smaller. What if he was a nouveau riche, so he arranged a VIP seat. The so-called VIP seats were on the steps surrounding the stage. There were tables and stools for them to drink and watch the fight. The ordinary seats below were much lower class. Under Wan Yi's guidance, they walked up the stairs to the top floor. They found a table and sat down. The view was not bad. There were 2 men dueling in the field. They couldn't even be considered fighters, and they were only using their physical bodies to fight. Boring. Qing Yutong muttered, then leaned onto Yi Hua's shoulder and pouted. Yi Hua lightly stroked onto Qing Yutong's beautiful hair. Have a seat first before we leave. Brother, do you want some appetizers and wine? Have some. Yi Hua said faintly. If Wan Yi hurriedly went to prepare, it would mean that Wan Yi was completely treating Yi Hua as a thigh and would serve him well. However, the man who was sitting at the table beside Yi Hua paused for a moment. Why do I feel that this voice is so familiar? That's right. This is the 4th prince who is currently on the run, Feng Yun. End of this chapter. Chapter 802. After losing the battle, Feng Yun felt that he was too ashamed to go back. Moreover, he had a feeling that going back was also very dangerous. Therefore, he headed south and arrived at the Azure Dragon Empire. However, a few days after he arrived, he heard that his Gouda duchy had a new king. This caused Feng Yun to be shocked. Fortunately, he had run away. Otherwise, he would have definitely died. But, Imperial Father, don't worry, I will avenge you. Once I summon an orange card general, the Voidless Empire will be finished. I only need one general. They could completely flatten Wushu Empire. Hearing this familiar voice, Feng Yun looked towards Yi Hua and the three women who were wearing veils. However, he wasn't sure. The snowstorm that day was very big, and adding on that the distance was very far, he wasn't able to see Yi Hua's face clearly, and he could only hear his voice. Feng Yun didn't pay much attention to the fact that the voices were similar. After all, how could the Emperor of Voidless Empire possibly come here? However, Yi Hua had seen Feng Yun clearly, and he had also seen Feng Yun right now. He didn't expect that the fourth prince, who had escaped, would come here. Interesting. Qing Yutong, who was acting coquettishly in Yi Hua's embrace, was suddenly startled. Master, the man on the other side has a summoning system. It's an advanced version. Master, you have to be careful. The summoning is already counting down. Qing Yutong asked curiously, is it possible to mess it up? I don't know, but I can try. Alright, let's give it a try then. Qing Yutong wanted to destroy the summoning system again. This summoning system, it sounds like it is very powerful. After a long time, the system said, Master, I can only speed up the summoning time. You even sped up, then Master, I'll do it slowly. Forget it, it's good that it's fast, it just so happens that I'm bored. Qing Yutong was very curious what kind of thing would he be able to summon out, it seems to be very exciting. Yes, Master. Feng Yun, who was sitting next to him, was very puzzled and even shocked. Originally, there were still 8 hours left. How did it suddenly shorten to 1 minute? System, what happened? Why did it shorten? Feng Yun asked doubtfully. Originally, he wanted to hide in a place where there was no one around to summon, but now that there were so many people, what if something happened? Master, everything is normal. 1 minute countdown. It seemed that Feng Yun's system didn't know that it had been hacked and was still counting down. Feng Yun was a bit nervous. Just what kind of man or girl will appear? Or is it a strategist or a soldier? Hurry up and come out. Follow Master and make a name for yourself in this Kangluo continent. Along with the countdown of the last few seconds, Feng Yun became even more nervous, and even Qing Yutong was also very nervous. Yi Hua could feel that Qing Yutong, who was in his embrace, was trembling slightly. Yi Hua smiled, Qingya, look at your little sister, she wants it again, Qingya, Donghuang Baiji. Qing Yutong immediately felt very embarrassed, and immediately sat up, brother-in-law. Sister, don't listen to him. I'm not. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji shook their heads, expressing that they could understand. At this time, Wanyi personally served the dishes and wine. He then sat down, big brother and sister-in-law, don't stand on ceremony. You can have as much as you want. However, Feng Yun, who was sitting at the next table, was dumbfounded. He stared blankly at the system interface. I'm rich. I'm rich. This was AF * King Bug. Feng Yun seemed to be unable to hold back the excitement in his heart, and he even wanted to roar out, the orange card that I have been raising for more than 10 years is finally effective. As expected of the main character's aura, giving away a woman at the start of the game. Feng Yun's system could be seen displaying his character's information. Name, Dodgy Race, Nine-Tailed Fox. Loyalty, 50, Full 100, Strength, Supreme of the Law of the Heavens. Passive, Charm, Aggro, Immune to Temptation Techniques. Skills. Killer Technique. Partner. Looking at the data on the surface, Feng Yun clenched his fists tightly. Supreme of the Law of the Heavens. In this Kangluo continent, that damned Tianliang sect and Wushu Empire will be able to insta-kill you all. You all are trash. All of you can go to hell. Feng Yun looked at Daji's profile picture and understood why the passive skill is aggro. With an appearance like this, it is impossible for her not to aggro. She is simply extremely seductive. Just looking at the picture made my blood boil. If I were to see the real person, this is my subordinate. Not only can I warm my bed, I can also fight. Today, when I go back, I can finally eat meat. The system is such a good thing. System, where is she? After waiting for a long time, Feng Yun couldn't help but ask. Master, be at ease, Daji is already on her way here. Hurry up. I can't wait anymore. Also, why is Daji's loyalty so low? Feng Yun asked gravely. Just now, he had just thought of the problem of loyalty. Master, Daji's strength is outstanding, and Master's current strength is rather low. Therefore, Master needs to quickly raise her loyalty. If loyalty drops to 0, Daji will no longer be Master's subordinate. Feng Yun nodded his head. Seems like I still have to be a wise master. Just now, I wanted to place Daji on my bed and rub her for a month, but it seems like that plan has gone down the drain. Forget it, let's raise her loyalty first. This is a very awesome orange card, I can't lose it. At this moment, a commotion suddenly sounded out. Men's screams could be heard everywhere. Feng Yun seemed to be able to sense that his Daji was about to arrive. Right now, Yi Hua seemed to have sensed a ghostly aura. An overlord actually appeared. An overlord actually appeared in this kind of small place, and it's a rather high-level overlord. How is this possible? Not only did Yi Hua sense it, Qing Ye and the others also sensed it, and all of them were puzzled. Right at this moment, a refreshing fragrance drifted in the air, and it was very pleasant. Yi Hua sneered in his heart. This overlord is a bit interesting, she seems to have her own charm technique. Looking at the surrounding men, all of them revealed a dumbfounded look. Even Wan Yi was the same. Master, be careful of charm technique. Wan Yi's system gave a warning, and immediately, an electric current struck Wan Yi's body. This caused Wan Yi to immediately be pleasantly surprised, and he was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. This person hasn't even appeared yet, and she has already charmed the men to this extent. Feng Yun sneered in his heart. Come out. My subordinate, Daji. A beautiful figure appeared at the entrance of the room. All of the men's breathing seemed to have stopped for a moment. What kind of face is that? Too flirtatious. Looking at this kind of face, all of the men only had one thought, and that was to fiercely press their bodies down and rub themselves to death. Right now, Feng Yun was also stupefied. This person is much more attractive than a picture. That seductive smile of hers seemed to be innate, causing one to be endlessly addicted to it. A dense fragrance was emitted out from the woman's body. Her clothes were made of white muslin, and the skin that was inside the muslin was faintly discernible. That pair of eyes of hers, it seemed like as long as she looked at you, you would be at her mercy. End of this chapter. Chapter 803. Feng Yun gulped. This was the most seductive woman he had ever seen. It was as if a single word from her would be enough to hand over the entire world. Of course, Yi Hua also saw Daji, and his eyes revealed a look of surprise. For Daji to be able to make Yi Hua exclaim in admiration, it meant that Daji's beauty had already entered his eyes. Just look at how Qing Ye and Donghuang Baiji were attracted by Daji. Daji can even attract women, this Daji really lives up to her name. What if he didn't even look at Daji, afraid that he would tell her the secret? Qing Yutong also didn't expect that the other party would actually summon a woman, and furthermore, the woman was such a beautiful woman. Originally, Qing Yutong had thought that the other party was a monster. However, looking at such a woman made his heart itch, let alone a man. As Daji moved with her lotus steps, it seemed to move the hearts of all men. Daji's beautiful eyes looked at Feng Yun. The latter's heart skipped a beat and he didn't dare to make eye contact. Feng Yun's system was reminding him, Master. Daji's loyalty is decreasing. Please maintain your master's aura. Feng Yun wanted to curse out loud. Daji was a heavenly Tao sovereign, and he almost peed his pants when she looked at him. How could he still maintain his imposing manner? Damn his imposing manner. Feng Yun hurriedly opened up the interface and discovered that Daji's loyalty was only at 30. This time, he was really scared out of his wits. Daji looked towards Yihua, and Yihua looked towards Daji. Their gazes intersected in the air. Daji felt that her heart, which had been sealed away for thousands of years, seemed to start beating. Was this her master? So handsome, so imposing, master, Daji's loyalty is almost gone. Hearing the warning that the system gave out, Feng Yun was very anxious. Right now, Daji's loyalty is only at 1 point, however, just as Feng Yun was in despair, Daji's loyalty shot up like a rocket, directly going off the charts. Loyalty, 100. Feng Yun knew what a loyalty level of 100 meant. If you asked her to die, she wouldn't even bat an eyelid. Although Feng Yun didn't know why Daji's loyalty suddenly went off the charts, Feng Yun was still very excited right now. With 100% loyalty, she would be able to make any kind of pose, and she would even be able to order Daji to squat down, and then stand up by herself. Awesome! This is so King awesome. Daji looked at her master with a blush on her face. Her master seemed to be very strong, and it was her honor to have such a master. It was a great honor to be able to serve such a master. Her master seemed to be looking at her. I don't even know how my makeup looks like when I appear today, I'm so nervous. Feng Yun saw that Daji was shy. Wow! Daji is definitely captivated by me. Look, Daji is actually playing with her hair shyly. Hurry up and come over, kneel beside your master, say your words of submission, and shock these spicy chickens. Yihua looked at Daji silently. This woman is not bad, she is extremely seductive. This is something that Qingye and the others do not have. Interesting. He didn't know why this supreme martial artist suddenly appeared. He seemed to be very shy when he looked at him. Because Yihua and Feng Yun just so happened to be in a straight line, Feng Yun mistakenly thought that Daji was looking at him, and his heart became very inflated. Daji could be seen walking over slowly with an incomparably bashful look on her face. Every single man looked at Daji, wondering what she was going to do. Feng Yun had even prepared what he was going to say, and he had even stood up, preparing to welcome his first woman. Daji walked to the middle of the 2 seats and took a look at the man who had stood up. She thought to herself, this man is really spicy, he is so ugly, and yet he is still smiling. Just looking at him makes me want to vomit. I really want to slap him away, this eyesore. Then, she took a look at her master. His face was like the mid-autumn moon, his complexion was like the flowers in the dawn of spring, his hair was like a knife, his eyebrows were like ink, his face was like peach petals, and his eyes were like autumn waves. I really want to lie in my master's embrace and use my warm body to comfort my master's ice-cold palm. I want my master to know that Daji was born for you and will die for you. Daji is willing to do the most evil things in the world for my master, including killing myself. Feng Yun looked at Daji's flirtatious face and her expression of preparing to serve him, and Feng Yun felt incomparably comfortable. However, right at this moment, Daji turned around and walked to Yihua's right side. Daji's action caused Feng Yun to be stupefied. Daji! What are you doing? Your master is here. What are you walking over there for? Quickly come back. However, Daji's following action caused Feng Yun to feel as if he was struck by lightning. Right now, Yihua was drinking wine, and his gaze was on the table. Meanwhile, Daji, who walked to his side, slowly kneeled down and let out that voice that could make one go crazy. This is definitely the most beautiful melody in the world. Master, Daji has come late and made Master wait for so long. Master, please punish Daji. If Master doesn't punish Daji, Daji will kneel down and not get up. Daji, who was kneeling beside Yihua, said sweetly. This kind of woman is actually asking for punishment, but who would be willing to punish this kind of woman? I don't have the heart to do it at all. Furthermore, this kind of woman is actually someone else's slave. My God! Why is it like this? This is impossible. Yihua took a small sip of wine. This overlord is a bit interesting, she actually wants to recognize me as her master. However, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were stupefied. We never expected that this woman would actually run to her husband and say such words. Qing Yutong was even more stupefied. Brother-in-law doesn't have a system at all, and the one who summoned Daji just now was the man at the table beside him. That man was stupefied. The person that I summoned actually ran to brother-in-law's side and even recognized brother-in-law as her master. Yihua didn't say anything, while Daji kneeled down with her head lowered. She was a bit sad. Master definitely thinks that I came late. I got lost just now. I didn't come late on purpose. Feng Yun couldn't take it anymore and directly walked over. Daji, I am your master, you are mistaken. Everyone was speechless. Just what is going on? This man seems to be very anxious, but that man seems to be very calm. Just who is this godlike woman? Daji turned her head around and took a look at Feng Yun, then said coldly, who are you? And you still want to be my, Daji's, master? Why don't you take a piss and take a look at yourself? What kind of person are you? Don't force me to kill you in front of my master. Feng Yun's entire face darkened. After finished speaking, Daji said to Yihua tenderly, Master, I'm sorry. Daji said some vulgar words, please forgive Daji's words. In my entire life, Daji will only have you as my master. Daji will serve under master's feet and look up to master's majestic appearance. When Feng Yun heard Daji's words, he felt as if countless of slaps were slapping onto him. The orange card that I raised painstakingly actually recognized someone else as its master, and it even said so many shameless words. This is infuriating. Master, Daji's attributes have changed. Following the system's reminder, Feng Yun opened up the attack interface. Name, Daji Race, Nine-Tailed Fox Loyalty, 100 Strength. Heavenly Law Overlord Passive, Charm, Draw Hatred, Immunity to Temptation Technique Skills. Killer Technique. Partner, Yihua ask for monthly tickets, all kinds of tickets, end of this chapter. Chapter 804. When Feng Yun saw the couple's name, he nearly fainted. Just a moment ago, that column was a question mark, but in the blink of an eye, it actually appeared. It would be normal if it was his own name, but this was someone else's name. It was an orange card Daji that he summoned. The supreme Daji of the heavenly Tao actually belonged to someone else. Feng Yun was unable to endure such a blow, and he abruptly took a step back and knocked down the table in an extremely sorry state. When everyone saw Feng Yun's expression, it was as if he had been abandoned by the woman he loved. However, in comparison, this abandonment wasn't without reason. Do you think you're worthy of such a woman with that kind of appearance of yours? Just like what that woman said just now, why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? You really don't know your place. Master, Daji will not appear in the system because her loyalty has dropped to 0. My condolences, Master. F*CK me. Whose F*King system are you? How dare you tell your master to grieve instead of thinking of a way to redeem himself? Feng Yun looked at Daji's information panel, and suddenly, snowflakes appeared and then disappeared, but now Daji was kneeling in front of someone else. His heart ached so much that it felt like it was going to split open. I've raised you for almost 20 years. You've eaten so much of my good stuff, and now you're kneeling at someone else's feet. Damn it. My woman. My orange card. My sweet dream. Master, don't be discouraged. The system will protect you. I'll protect you, my ass. The first orange card was already like this, who knew if the next one would be like this? No. I can't just let it go like this. This Daji is my woman. Feng Yun stood up and shouted at Daji, I'm your master, he's not. Although Daji, who was kneeling on the ground, did not raise her head, she was already emitting a strong killing intent. Feng Yun could not help but take a step back in fright. Then, he tripped himself and fell to the ground again. Master. Daji doesn't want to kill when we first meet, but please allow me to kill this man who is full of nonsense, so as not to dirty my master's ears. Daji's voice was indeed very beautiful. Even if she spoke in a cold tone, it would still make people feel a sense of desire. Feng Yun panicked and even showed a look of terror. Master, run. Daji had already lost control. It would really kill its master. I hope master is wise. Feng Yun's system roared madly in his mind. Could it be that this stupid master still hasn't seen the reality? Daji could stab you to death with a single strand of her hair. Feng Yun wasn't a fool. Looking at Daji, who was kneeling on the ground, his heart was bleeding. However, he had no choice but to turn around and run. Qing Yutong was already stupefied, and didn't know what to say. System, what exactly is going on here? Qing Yutong was already confused. Master, the male master used his domineering aura to subdue the summoned character. Qing Yutong, brother-in-law, actually conquered Daji with his domineering aura? How could this be? Master, actually, that man was too careless, the system said softly. What do you mean? Qing Yutong asked curiously. Normally, such a powerful character wouldn't appear in a summoning system, unless that character was nurtured for a long period of time. This Daji clearly appeared in such a way, but the host's strength is too weak, and yet, he was able to summon such a powerful character. A generation gap has already appeared, and I believe that the loyalty of the summoned character is very low. If this host were to secretly summon a character, there would only be two outcomes. The first outcome would be that the summoned character would kill the host, and the second outcome would be that the host would become the slave of the summoned character, and the strength of the male master would make her submit to him. This is the principle of the law of the jungle. Hearing the system's explanation, Qing Yutong finally understood. This man wanted to become fat in one bite, and in the end, such a thing happened. This is truly unfortunate, I suffered a huge loss. No. He should be lucky, if he were to secretly summon a character, he would definitely die. Fortunately, brother-in-law saved his life. Brother-in-law is such a kind person, after saving other people's life, he even mysteriously obtained a female servant. I don't know what Big Sister and Big Sister Baiji are thinking, but looking at Daji's attitude, unless I get rid of her, I will definitely follow brother-in-law. Ha, there is going to be a good show to watch. Qing Ye and Donghuang Baiji came back to their senses from the shock. Yi Hua was just drinking a bit of wine here, and when such a beautiful woman came over and asked to serve him, a woman's heart would definitely be filled with jealousy. Damn it, it is also troublesome for a husband to be too outstanding, he is simply like a magnet, the kind that specializes in attracting women. Right now, Daji was still respectfully kneeling beside Yi Hua, and Yi Hua did not say anything, nor did he express his opinion. In actuality, Yi Hua didn't mind having a female servant. Daji's appearance is up to standard, her words are pleasant to hear, and looking at her current actions, she is obedient enough. Her strength is also not bad, and there is still potential to be developed. It should be possible for her to walk unhindered in Kangluo continent. However, such a matter still needs to be decided by the 3 empresses. To offend 3 empresses for the sake of 1, I have even passed math. I know that 3 is greater than 1. Qing Ye and Donghuang Baiji took a look at each other, seemingly communicating with their eyes. The 2 women came to an agreement. Young lady, our husband appreciates your kindness, but please return. Qing Ye said faintly, then took a look at Yi Hua. Don't you know what my husband is thinking? This Daji's appearance is already up to standard, I reckon that she wants to look at me. At least you are still thinking for us. The men who were sitting around cried out in surprise. Although the faces of the 3 women were masked, judging from their graceful figures and the faintly discernible faces under the white veil, they are definitely super beauties. Their relationship with that man is definitely not ordinary. One E who was sitting at the side in his heart. As a man, he understood the question mark bro's thoughts very well. With such a woman kneeling beside him, how could his heart not be moved? However, There is a tiger at home, there is nothing I can do. Daji's slender shoulders trembled slightly, and a slight choking sound could be heard. Daji could be seen raising her enchanting face. Right now, her face was already filled with tears, making her look delicate and pitiful. Madam, since young, Daji did not have any parents and lived an inhumane life. Right now, the reason why I came over is to look for master and serve beside master's feet. I do not want to fight with the madams for master's favor. If the madams feel that Daji is an eyesore, then grant Daji death. This way, Daji will be able to die beside master's feet, and this can be counted as a kind of honor. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were stupefied. This Daji sure knows how to twist words, although I don't know if what Daji said is true or false. Her eloquence is definitely not bad. Even if I die, I will definitely die beside brother-in-law's feet. Without waiting for Qingye to speak, Daji looked at Yi Hua, who was silently drinking wine, and said, Master, Daji has already seen your honor, and I have no regrets in this life. Daji will not leave master, and thus, I will let Daji's soul accompany master. After finished speaking, Daji's slender index finger could be seen growing out a sharp nail, and with her beautiful eyes closed, Daji poked towards her spotlessly white jade neck. End of chapter. Chapter 805. Yi Hua was a little surprised. This Daji is for real? With this poke, someone might really die. Qing Yutong didn't expect that this Daji would be for real either. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji didn't plan to force someone to death, so they were shocked by Daji's actions. Why does my husband have to be so outstanding? This is so annoying. I didn't expect that this awesome Daji is really going to commit suicide. That expression of hers doesn't seem to be an act. However, if I find out that Daji is also wearing a row of question marks on her head, this is too scary. Suddenly, a hand pressed onto Daji's spotlessly white wrist. Those sharp nails had already pierced into Daji's skin, and a stream of blood flowed down from that spotlessly white skin. It was truly a ghastly sight. Yi Hua took a look at Qingye. Luckily, I was able to endure it just now. If I had made a move just now, they would have made a fuss again. That's right, the one who pressed onto Daji's wrist was Qingye. Qingye's kind heart erupted again. She couldn't bear to see Daji die just like that. She didn't do anything wrong, and yet, she committed suicide just because I said a sentence. It makes it seem as if I am a murderer who forced a pitiful lady to death. Daji slowly opened her beautiful eyes and looked at Qingye. Two streams of tears flowed out from her eyes as she bowed towards Qingye. Thank you, madam, for helping me. Pooh. The wine in Yi Hua's mouth sprayed out. This Daji is too damn interesting. Qingye didn't say anything at all. Qingye couldn't wrap her head around what was going on. I only stopped you from committing suicide, and you actually bowed to me. Donghuang Baiji shook her head. Why did such a thing happen? This is so depressing. Qing Yutong was more or less the same as Yi Hua. She was also secretly laughing. She felt that this Daji was too interesting. What if I am really envious of this brother? This luck with women came so mysteriously. Could it be that I am the main character? Yi Hua placed down the wine cup and said lightly, Qingye, I really didn't expect that you would allow such a thing to happen. Your husband is very gratified. Qingye looked at Yi Hua dumbfoundedly. What did I allow? Qing Yutong smiled and said, Big sister, I didn't expect you to be so generous. Brother-in-law, you will have a maid in the future. Looking at her husband and her little sister, Qingye regretted marrying her little sister to her husband. Right now, Qingye is completely on Yi Hua's side. Daji quickly wiped her tears and said respectfully to Qingye, Madam, don't worry. Daji is only master's maid. I will always have this identity. The men sitting at the side were speechless. Such a woman was actually someone else's maid. She even asked to be a maid. Had the world changed? What if he had a feeling that this was the protagonist's plot? Why didn't he have such a plot arrangement? Qingye waved her hand in annoyance. I don't want to say anything anymore. I don't have the heart to force him to death, and I don't feel comfortable letting him do as he pleases. She looked at her husband and saw that he was putting on a straight face. Keep up the act. I don't know how happy you are right now. Yihua continued to remain silent. You are the one who agreed to it, not me. I was still feeling gloomy, but suddenly, such a beautiful maid appeared out of nowhere. I am a bit happy. Without any instructions, Daji still knelt on the ground. Get up. Qingye said helplessly. Thank you, madam, Daji said in a choked voice. Then, she stood up. The blood under her neck was shocking. Yihua shook his head. Qingye was just that kind-hearted. If she was a bit more heartless, Daji would have most likely already become a corpse by now. However, if Qingye really becomes that kind of woman, I won't like her that much. Yihua stretched out his hand and was about to pick up the wine glass. Daji immediately reached out and picked it up first. Master. Please let Daji test it to see if it's poisonous. After that, Daji took a sip and said seriously, Master, this wine is not poisonous. You can taste it without worry. Yihua, I, the Supreme Overlord, had just drunk a few cups of wine. It can't be that you want to kiss me indirectly, right? Daji, who put down the wine glass, blushed slightly, making her even more charming. He looked at the wine glass and saw Daji's red lip mark. This caused Qingye and Donghuang Baiji to feel dizzy. They actually got a female bodyguard for their husband, fuck. Why did he come to this martial arts arena? Who was the one who suggested this? If he didn't come, how could he possibly see this Daji? Who is it? It was Wan Yi who suggested it. Motherf ****. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji immediately looked towards Wan Yi, and Wan Yi felt his entire body turning cold. Master, danger warning. Wan Yi cried out that he was wronged. This really has nothing to do with me, I am also very confused. Qingye took out a handkerchief, wipe off the blood on my neck. Daji said respectfully, thank you, madam. Daji can do it myself, lest Daji's despicable blood stains madam's expensive handkerchief. Qingye held onto her forehead helplessly. This Daji's words, why do I feel that she is so good at coaxing people? Suddenly, a fly circled around Yihua. Daji's beautiful eyes turned cold as she shouted out, audacious. Daji's shout gave everyone a fright. They thought that there was an assassin. Daji's 5 fingers turned into claws and slashed towards the fly that had fainted. Whoosh! 5 green figures could be seen streaking across the rooftop. A mere fly dares to circle around Master's surroundings and disturb Master's mood. Master, Daji has already eliminated this damned fly. Master and Madam can continue to drink. Daji will be waiting at the side. Daji's beautiful eyes were like a radar, scanning the surroundings, killing whoever dared to act recklessly. Just as she finished speaking. Boom boom boom. The roof at the side collapsed. Those 5 green figures had actually broken through the roof. A fly landed on the ground and twitched slightly. The shadow in its heart was very big. Big sister, I am just passing by, and you actually used such a move to deal with a fly. Other people don't even know how to use a butcher's knife to kill a chicken, but you actually used a dragon salyer to kill a fly. Looking at the collapsed house at the side, the corner of Yihua's mouth twitched slightly. This made, a little fierce. I like it. Qing Yutong also felt that this Daji was different from the masses and was very interesting. Big sister and big sister Baiji will probably have a headache. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Isn't this a little too meticulous? It's just killing a fly, and she actually destroyed the roof at the side. Donghuang Baiji couldn't help but say, Daji. Madam, please speak, don't you think it's too noisy? Daji will kill these ants right now so that they don't disturb Master and Madam's peace. Hearing this, Yihua felt very happy. This is exactly what I like. Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi rolled their eyes. This kind of personality is most probably the kind that Yihua likes. Everyone who was sitting at the table heard it. This Daji is too savage, to actually want to kill everyone here. Aren't you afraid of being punished? Daji's passive ability in the information bar was not for nothing. What if I also have a maid like this? It would be too great. She can be a bodyguard during the day, and at night, she can even warm the bed. End of this chapter. Chapter 806. Brother ? We shouldn't stay here for long. The guards will be here soon. 1E reminded him in a low voice. Although he wasn't afraid, it would still be troublesome. Daji said coldly, Master, Madam, with Daji here, there's no need to worry. Anyone who dares to disturb Master and Madam's drinking will only be greeted with death. Yihua felt that this Daji was becoming more and more in line with his appetite. Daji. Yihua called out faintly. Daji went into a daze for a moment when she heard her master calling out to her for the first time. Soon after, Daji knelt onto the ground. Master, were you calling out to Daji just now? Oh my God. This is the most glorious moment in Daji's life. Master, you are too good to Daji, and Daji is unable to repay you with anything. Thus, I can only dedicate my life to Master. I hope that Master will not despise Daji. Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi, Qing Yutong felt that even those subordinates of brother-in-law are not as formidable as Daji. Brother-in-law had only shouted out for a bit, and when he looked at Daji, he was so excited that he seemed as though he was about to orgasm. However, Yihua liked this kind of tone. It has been a long time since I have heard such flattering words. Furthermore, it was the kind of flattering words that were incomparably honest. What if he felt that a dozen of these girls were too good at flattering him? Yihua said lightly, Get up, I won't despise you. Daji was so excited that words couldn't describe it. She said shyly, Don't worry, Master. Daji will definitely serve Master with all my heart in the future. Daji is Master's shield. If you want to hurt Master's great body, you must first step on Daji's corpse. Hearing that, Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi felt a bit more comfortable. Daji's words were just to protect her man, and she didn't have any other intentions. At the very least, Yihua's safety would be guaranteed to a certain extent, and Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi would feel much more at ease. My subordinates don't even know how to flatter me anymore. Look at this Daji, she is so good at talking. The person who is able to harm me has yet to be born. Yihua said faintly. Daji looked at her master's confident expression and said in admiration, Master is right. Master's glory will spread all over the earth. Everyone should submit to Master, including Daji. Comfortable. This Daji is not bad. She had quite a glib tongue. 6. Daji, don't speak so exaggeratedly in the future. Qingye couldn't help but remind Daji. She felt goosebumps all over her body. Daji said respectfully, Madam, I'm not exaggerating. As the most honorable woman in the world, you will stand at the peak with Master. You will look down on the heroes and see the great rivers and mountains. Qing Yutong couldn't help but laugh. Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi laughed as well. This bootlicking is really amazing. Let's go. Yihua stood up and said faintly. Daji immediately walked in front and said respectfully, Master, let Daji scout ahead to prevent some lowly people from approaching you and touching your noble body. Everyone, Daji. Yihua called out faintly. Daji immediately turned around shyly. Master has to walk at the front. Yihua reminded. Daji's expression changed, and she immediately knelt down. Master, Daji was thoughtless. Please punish me. Seeing such a super beauty kneeling on the ground at the drop of a hat, everyone felt dizzy. Alright, forget about it. Master, please punish Daji. Let Daji remember this and not make the same mistake in the future. Daji, who was kneeling on the ground, begged for punishment. If you don't punish me, I won't get up. Yihua said gravely, Daji, are you going to disobey master's orders? Daji doesn't dare. Daji will be obedient in the future. Daji obediently retreated behind Qingye and the others while remaining vigilant. As a personal maid, she had to know how to share her master's burden. In actuality, Feng Yun didn't walk far. Looking at his orange card, he obediently followed behind the group. His heart was bleeding. For so many days and nights, I nurtured my orange card carefully, and now, I have made a wedding dress for someone else. How can I be like this, Master? Don't be discouraged. I have already told Master long ago that we have to take things step by step. Orange card characters aren't that easy to control. This time, Feng Yun used Daji to learn a lesson. Thus, he wouldn't insist on nurturing an orange card character anymore. I will first get a few white cards to use and slowly level them up to orange cards. I should have listened to the system from the start. Now that I have made a wedding dress for someone else, the beautiful Daji now belongs to someone else. It doesn't matter. Daji ran away. I still have Diao Chan. Wait. Countless beauties are in the system. When the time comes, I will pull out all of them and appear in front of Daji and make her regret her choice back then. Brother ? How about going to my house to rest for a bit? Wan Yi suggested. I must definitely make arrangements for this group of question marks. Yihua felt that he could rest for a bit, so he didn't reject. Wan family could be considered as a rich family in the Azure Dragon Empire, but they were just rich, and there weren't any officials in the family. Wan family's mansion was rather big. Although it couldn't be compared to those royal relatives and nobles, it was more than a few times bigger when compared to ordinary rich people. Within the mansion, there was a small bridge, a flowing river, and a rockery that was like a painting. Brother ? Sisters-in-law, anything is fine. My parents aren't at home, they went out to discuss business. Wan Yi instructed the servants to go and prepare a room. Just as Yihua was about to sit down, Daji suddenly became nervous. Master. Wait a moment. Yihua stopped and looked at Daji with a puzzled look. Daji said shyly, Master, the chair is a bit dirty, let Daji wipe it, don't dirty Master's clothes. After finished speaking, Daji used her pure white sleeves to lightly wipe the chair. Master, you can sit now. Yihua flicked Daji's forehead, and the latter cried out in pain as she held on to her forehead. Don't be like this in the future. Yihua said faintly. I, the Supreme Overlord, am not that unreasonable. Daji understands. Master, please don't blame me. This is Daji's first time being a maid, and I don't have much experience. Daji said shyly. Master actually flicked my forehead just now, I am so happy. Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi sat at Yihua's two sides. Qing Yutong observed the main hall, while Daji didn't need any other servants at all. She personally poured tea for her master and the madams. This made Qingye feel that it isn't bad to have such a considerate girl to serve them. When Donghuang Baizhi was the empress, there were people who served her, but after Yihua came over, other than imperial guards, there was no one else in the entire palace. Yihua didn't even prepare any maids, and he had to do everything himself. Now that he has Daji, it doesn't seem to be a bad thing. Master, madams, please have a taste. If Daji doesn't brew the tea well, Daji will brew the tea again. Yihua and the others took a sip of the tea. Not bad, this tea brewing skill is pretty good. Of course, Daji is a person who has lived for tens of thousands of years, and brewing tea is a basic skill. End of this chapter. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.